Looks like it's focused.
It's pretty square.
Isn't too bad lighting wise. Okay, folks, I got a new microphone on. If anyone can hear, as soon as someone can hear, just let me know how the. It goes, hey, Gold Panner. How's the sound coming through? I hopefully got a new mic up, but since YouTube, it's hard to tell. Hey, Mr. Lodak. So let me know if the sound's coming through well and if it sounds better than last week.
I hear you.
A bit muffled, not as clear. Okay. How's that?
Is that any better?
Try it now. This is supposed to be a mic that'll pick stuff up better. I can certainly turn the volume up.
See that?
Okay. Now this is maximum volume here. How does that sound, or do I need to turn it down?
Ooh, better.
A little better.
Let's see how it goes.
But just out of curiosity, let's make sure it's this microphone, okay? Does it sound different this way versus this way? No, I'm not. That's what I'm trying to tell, because it's the same. Yeah, that figures. See, it is selected. But that doesn't mean anything with YouTube, apparently. You know, you can select it. It just shows, you've selected this. And then it's like, but I'm not operating on that. Jesus. What a dumbass system. See, and the problem is I can't sit there and screw with it right now without apparently getting out of the thing here. Because you would think, let me try here. No, those selections are not available. That selection is. See what I mean? We should be. What's this? I think that's just.
The mic on or off on the laptop.
Oh, come on, you piece of crap. I don't know. You think that you could
Increase it?
Yeah, that looks like a volume control there.
Oh, that's the speaker down
Yeah. I am adjusting it. Oh, that's wonderful. It's not showing me I'm adjusting it.
Someday.
Oh, man. So it would be so simple to design a system where you could actually do something while you were observing what you were doing. It'd be like making a car where as soon as you started moving, the windshield went black. Wouldn't be incredibly useful. Also, yeah, because we
were playing with
that was a mute button I accidentally hit. Hey, Ethan, things are going pretty good. Oh, well, I guess we'll just have to try this. Because, say, it would be nice to be able to adjust something when you're not live.
Yeah.
You know, to actually go, this is the test version, and then you could do it. What I can do here, close this one, go to that, and we can at least see and monitor. I have two showing live. I don't know. Well, that wasn't too bad a delay. Let's see, let me turn the mic down. Okay, so I got the mic down.
Premium per round is $10.99.
Anyhow, so that's why I usually start these things early, is because it doesn't go, because unlike any other program that would make sense, it doesn't have controls on the side. You know, again, like a TV. In order to adjust the volume, you have to turn the TV off. Seems a little counterintuitive to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm not sure who comes up with these insane ideas, but they're probably progressives. Anyhow.
Don't sweat it.
So anyhow, As those of you who watched the video I put up yesterday knows, we've been a little busy, which is good. Had a good time. Eva is not. I don't. Are you limping still, little one?
Yeah,
Yeah, she's still limping.
just a little.
She was. She was frolicking about the mountainside with me for a while, and didn't injure herself, but her knee's just not used to that. She probably did roughly a mile of hiking on a steep side hill. Hey, Terry. And it was not a safe steep side hill sort of thing. We were right above a little escarpment of about, I don't know, 15 feet. So we were between one escarpment here and another one here, and we're on this slope here. And so an error in judgment could be painful or not painful at all, depending on how you landed. So anyhow, but she did pretty good there. And while I was wandering about, I thought, since I'm looking at a number of things, I thought it'd be useful to make a video showing you some of the things I'm observing when I'm wandering around. I go, aha! It's kind of like a mechanic. If you got a good mechanic, you may not be an automotive engineer, may not be the best theoretician, but when he hears that sound in a 350 Chevy, he knows what it means, sort of thing. And so I just tried to throw a few of those things out. The samples I took this weekend, none of them panned real well. We saw some gold, but not the kind of show I would like to see in the pan. Now, that doesn't mean anything. They should be headed out to the, I don't know, they might be in the mail already. So they should be frolicking out. The stuff we took, where you saw those trenches, standing on one trench and everything, none of those assays very well. Okay. Now, in that particular case, because it appears to be, in a brecciated zone, it might still be useful on a large scale situation, but considering the environmentalists convince you idiots to ban cyanide in this location, it may be an unexploitable resource for the foreseeable future. What?
Ask if anybody has any experience using liquid colorimetric assay kits, and if so, can they recommend a specific one?
Okay.
Because I'm still trying to find one.
Okay. What Eva is asking about, there are some colorimetric assay kits. By colorimetric, it means color. And so basically you dissolve the ore in a liquid, and then you add a reagent and it changes color depending upon the amount of gold in it, supposedly. And you want to text Chris and see if he's been made aware. And anyhow, so I know they used to sell these kits where you could take a sample of rock, put it in the digestive thing, filter it, and add a reagent to get a color change. And I'm not sure if they still have them or how good they are. Could be the stannous chloride one, I think. That sounds familiar. But if anyone's familiar with any of those that are reasonable priced and everything, it might be something we could test out for this, what we're doing here. Also ran into a company out of Australia, and I think it's Clean Mining or something like that. A little background research. Apparently they've kind of refined sodium thiosulfate will dissolve gold. Okay. Generally at a lower rate than cyanide, but thiosulfate is quite non-toxic comparatively. And So that has certain advantages. They had a real interesting little video on what they call their artisanal scale system. And basically, 50-pound sack, leaching chemical or something like that, And then they had two other chemicals. One was clearly a precipitant, from what I can see. Not kind of a standard thing in a thiosulfate leach is like a resin absorption. Carbon does not take gold out of a thio solution worth of crap. This is one reason in certain things, if you have carbon in your ore,
then you got a problem.
then it would be a problem with cyanide, not with thiosulfate. See?
Okay.
And so anyhow, the general way of extracting the gold from the solution is with resin absorption, desorption sort of circuit. But this was, as I say, it appeared to me clearly a precipitation reaction where this was so cool. This is why I'd like to be able to screen in a screen too. But they took, it was one of those totes that has water in it, like a 200-gallon tote. What they call them? The USD, UBS, I don't know what they call them. It's a 3-letter acronym.
UBC.
UBC, yes.
No, IBC.
IBC.
Intermediate bulk carrier.
Intermediate bulk carrier,
Yeah.
exactly. It's a forkliftable
Yeah.
tank, basically. A cheap forkliftable tank.
Yeah.
And they poured some in and they stirred it up with a piece of PVC pipe. Then they took a barrel with a screw top lid, a plastic barrel, and they took the lid off, and they poured some ore in it, and they poured some solution in it, and then they screwed the top back on. Then they rolled it around.
Right.
That's like, wow, that's
You
Good.
get good contact that way.
yeah. And Rick is here. Hi, Rick.
Hey, Rick.
And so we, they did that. They said, roll it around for a little bit, and then every couple hours you roll it again.
Sure.
Okay, well, that sounds pretty simple. Then what they did was they took it, stood it on end, unscrewed the lid, and you notice it's got like a flat end cap and then a ring.
Yeah.
So they took the cap off and put a fabric in there, screwed the ring back on,
Oh, then filter.
and then they just used that to filter it.
Oh, that's cool.
And that makes sense.
Sure. Good landscape fabric or something.
Yeah.
Just filter it right out.
Just filter it out, and
Wow.
then they took the filtered liquid, which it looked to me like they let it settle or clarify first, because when they were pouring it, it was pretty, red and rocky looking, like you'd expect. And then they had it in a bucket, and then they add chemical number 2 and start stirring it, and it started turning light gray, then dark gray, then almost a black from the precipitating gold.
Mineral. Yeah.
Okay, now it didn't look to me like they were using a cementation thing, like you're putting powdered zinc in, because you would see the powdered zinc.
Yeah.
It wouldn't go from clear to dark gray. But anyhow, they did that, and then they added another chemical, which my guess is, and I'm just guessing here, was a flocculant, to get those little gold particles to stick together so you get more efficient filtering.
That would make sense.
Then they just filtered it. I think it was a coffee filter, it looked like. And then put it in a crucible with some flux, furnace it, and poured a little gold bar.
How cool is that?
And I said, that looks good.
That looks interesting. It sounds interesting.
Yeah. So I went and I've now got a contact that I've emailed back and forth a couple times. Apparently they are currently working with a large-scale project here in Montana to get it permitted. Okay. And so that would be a potentially useful thing for a lot of stuff.
Definitely.
Be either direct leaching or leaching of cons, So that was very, very interesting.
Well, the science over the last, 15, 20 years has moved so far beyond where we were 20 years ago.
Well,
And that's big because we can't, like here, we can't use cyanide. So what else can we do?
well, and then the thing is too, the research I did on the thiosulfates, there was a couple of kind of bottleneck type issues. One was dissolution speed. Just plain thiosulfate only dissolves so fast. So you usually add other chemicals to accelerate that. Okay?
Sure.
That may be what these guys, now, in their promotional stuff, they mentioned that that there was an organization, Australian government or education, I'm not sure which, they mentioned it there, I can check it out, that had developed a system, and then they had licensed the patent from these people. Now, if it's an educational or a government thing, and especially if it's patented, certainly the information is out there.
Yep.
If nothing else, the patent is.
Mm-hmm.
So we should be able to figure out.
That might even be a subject to bring up with the guys over at the school.
Yeah, I think I might.
Well, see, if you have to do testing though to get it permitted, you know, if there's something you want to do, if you're working with them, there's a good chance that you'll get it.
Well,
You'll
I'm
get
not.
it, you know, into the system.
I suspect, and Eva will be here later with her tinfoil hat report again, but there's no indication that I've seen that the Biden administration is going to be reasonable at all in any way.
No, but
And therefore, we kind of pretty much have to assume that you're going to be working either illegally and out of sight or under the radar legally.
right, small volume.
Small volume,
Yeah.
no surface disturbance, that
Right.
sort of crap. And in that case, the leaching could be done on private property.
Well, a lot of your regulation as far as leaching and that type of stuff has to do with the state DEQ.
Mm-hmm.
And the state's pretty pro-mining.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the chances, if you've got a good concept and you can show proof of concept,
Mm-hmm.
you should probably be able to get it permitted.
So that,
I mean, as long as you have, you know, an outlet for anything that you got to get rid of, your, you know, disposal. If you've got it figured out, there's a good chance that you're probably going to get permitted
well,
if you can prove it.
these guys, the initial stuff I saw was clearly like promotional videos.
Right.
The last information the guy gave me actually had test results,
More so.
comparison. This ore took this long to get this recovery with
Right.
cyanide, and with with our system it did this, and it was one after another after another. This is more the stuff that I'm interested in. I
Right.
don't care what kind of, green,
Exactly.
confetti you want to
Right.
throw up in the
You
air.
want something that works.
I want to know what's actually going on here.
Right.
And so I finally got to the point where I've actually got some useful information here.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a chance to look it over yet. But that's something that I expect to have more reports in the future, and could be a significant game changer in many situations.
Mhm.
Because if you've got a relatively inexpensive, non-toxic leach
Yep.
that can be handled on a small scale, we
Right.
don't have to have a $10,000 absorption desorption circuit. I mean,
No,
That's-
IBC totes they're all over.
I say that was really cool.
I got a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So, and you know, that type of thing is in a small scale. Hey, perfect.
And they even make, in the case of the rolling drum thing,
Yeah.
you can make essentially a large scale bottle roller.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
Wouldn't
two
be hard
axles
at all.
and some tires and throw it on there and let it spin.
Yeah.
And
And then
yeah,
just-
that'd be so simple.
and then
but
just have a series of belts
Yeah.
or a chain that goes,
one axle that turns.
well, if you got
Yeah.
multiple of them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you could have a whole row of them that way though.
Yeah, it'd be easy to scale it. Hey, Chris. Yeah, I figured
Chris.
that's why I had Eva text you, because I figured that if you don't show up real quick, then it's probably YouTube not announcing it.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so
Or you're busy.
so I say that looked
Yeah, he might actually have a life.
Yeah, might
Unlike
have
us.
something to do.
patient. What can be more important than us? But anyhow, so
Actually, what can be more important than me?
okay.
Hello.
I've been corrected. I sit corrected. But anyhow, so that could be a real important thing in the future here, that I'll let people know, as we get information. Another thing I got was I got the results from the analysis of Montana bee testing. And what was kind of interesting was the ratio of gold to iron was pretty consistent in the heads, the tails, and the cons. No, not the cons. It was the heads, tails. Where's that? Look, there's a piece of paper, and I lost it here. It's running around somewhere. Ooh, I bet you that's it right there. Yeah, the heads, the tails, and the cons were all quite consistent. 1.8, 1.7, 1.6 was the ratio, okay, in terms of percent parts per million. But the slimes was 2.5 times the gold, 2% of iron. And with the same material, a micron mill wavetable actually created a concentrate that was better than any of my concentrates. Now, throughput sucked. One thing about a wavetable is that when you're working at it, if you don't push it very fast, it can do a pretty good job.
Right. It's just a limitation on feed.
Now,
They're saying to close the second video if you
waiting. I have a second video on waiting for the stream to start. I don't know. Let's see if I can.
can. Let him find it here.
Let's see. That's a good question. Hate to do this. Oh, come on. Could you just stop everything? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Edit video. No, I don't want to edit. Okay, let's just go here.
I should close that one.
And see, the problem is I need to go to manage videos. There we go. Yeah, see, this is the thing, is if YouTube would give you a, okay, here's what we're showing option, then life would be nice. Unfortunately, they don't appear to. Okay, so we've got View from the Penthouse, 1921.
The upcoming one, I think.
This is the one we're talking here.
You might get it here, Kevin.
Let's see, more actions, delete forever, delete forever. I understand that I'm deleting the son of a gun forever. Okay, can't hurt to do it. But anyhow, I actually have a table in Tucson that I call the Rogue Wave table that takes the wavetable principle and kind of turns it on its side and everything. And I think if that's what we need to do, it will smoke on this one. It'll do just fine.
Cool.
I was trying to get it to recover relatively clean gold, a good smeltable con. I was having a little trouble with that. But in terms of producing clean heavies, no problem. I can do it.
Wash them right out.
I can make a nice one, and it's about as big as that desk. 200 pounds now.
Wow.
Okay. So, depending upon what kind of test results show up, I may have to have it shipped up here.
Yeah, you might be able to concentrate that better.
It's harder to move than a wheelbarrow, but easier than a piano. You know, I'm guessing 250 pounds, and it has 4 wheels on it. So we could probably get like a U-ship thing or whatever, if someone's coming up with a truck or a flatbed. And again, just roll it up, strap it down, and gone. So that's an option too. That's what I've been working for quite a few years, and then I switched over to the trip concentrator because I was getting too high of losses in the free gold, trying to get a free gold concentrate.
Yeah.
And but if we're just trying to concentrate the iron, it might work. And a regular Deister table or Whiffley table might also work fine on just getting a heavy iron concentrate. But I found it interesting that the slimes,
Re-increased.
the gold to iron ratio went up.
Well, then wouldn't it make sense to find a way to concentrate your slime?
Chris said his mom works out in a trucking company there.
Okay, sounds like a plan. So anyhow, if I can get that up here, it gives us one more thing to test too.
Sure.
That's
interesting.
I went to the plasma cutter here in Helena and told him to go ahead and start slicing and dicing. It's going to be out of T1.
Okay.
They can't get T2, but they can get T1.
T1.
And
harder than mine.
And it's going to be, ooh, shoot, I forgot to
Back.
well, I gotta send him an email real quick. Let's see, this actually works out fine because that's what he wants. Yeah, he has an uncle in Butte that also has some mines and stuff.
Oh, goody. Yeah.
So, I tell you what, this is a target-rich environment up here. I mean, we are getting.
Well, there was thousands of mines in this area. I mean, there's holes all over when you get up hiking through some of these hills.
Yeah, it's pretty religious out here. It's very holy.
Yeah. No, it's interesting.
Yeah, and let's see, where was that guy? Oh my goodness.
Well, I got up on the mountain on Friday. We were going to look at opening the road, but there's about 2 feet of glacial ice on the road from the snowmobiles using it. So we figured we'd wait another week or two to get the dozer fired up and clear the road. So we can get into some of our equipment and start fixing and working on it.
What I always forget to do is I forget, when I send out a link or something, I forget to put the link in. I'll do the text and hit send. It's like, oh crap, I gotta send a phone. This one I actually remember. So anyhow, that's going to go to his. So what are you going to do? You're mainly opening up that hard rock deposit to
Not
exploration?
yet. We're going to go in with the geologists, I don't know, toward the end of the month here on the copper project. We
Yeah.
start doing some underground stuff, some mapping and sampling. And then I wanted to get into my placer equipment because I got a bunch of welding and fixing to do up there. And, get everything ready for mobilization if we do move somewhere.
Okay.
So there's some days up there to do that. But with the snow conditions, and then today we woke up here in town to 4 inches of snow overnight. So
That's what you saw as the thumbnail
Yeah.
of this thing.
yeah,
That was what we got this morning.
Yeah.
Now, 2 days ago, Eve and I were out hiking over the
70
hills.
degrees up.
Great.
Goes from 70 degrees back to 20.
Yeah. So anyhow,
Yeah, we're kind of waiting it out.
well, we've been doing pretty good getting to the Montana Bee area, and this was a good little shakedown trip. I haven't been in the camper in like 3 months since we got up here, and the temperature, that little buddy heater we bought, it works fine, but it has no throttle to it. And so what we found was by opening the vent
Yeah.
at the top, throttle it that way.
Yeah, let a little heat out.
Except Eva forgot to close the vent in the middle of the night. She got a little cold. I wasn't too bad, but she got a little bit chilly.
Bears got more fat.
Ooh, that was harsh. Probably accurate.
I know Dirty Goat and those guys, they opened their road Saturday up to their mine, and he said there was 3 feet of snow. The grizzly bears are out. We've seen tracks on our drainage, and then he said there was tracks up on their drainage and signs of bears too.
Okay, now,
So the grizzlies are out.
what elevations and stuff do they wander around at?
You could see them right here in town.
Okay,
They'll
so
come down.
because this trip I had my 44 with
Yeah,
me.
I would, from here on in, you carry your toys, all the tools.
Yeah.
The black bears won't really come out till the grass starts greening a little bit, but the grizzlies are out.
Yep. That's kind of what I thought. So, I was, if you're part of the fun, loaded for bear. And,
Yeah, from here on in, you need to be.
well, I can't carry my shotgun when I'm hiking around.
Yeah.
The 44 is not bad. I hardly notice it.
That'll work.
But my brother said that he was told that the standard loadout for a 12 gauge in bears is 1 round of birdshot and then slugs. And the birdshot goes to the face.
Or buckshot. I run buckshot. I go buckshot, slug, buckshot, slug.
Oh,
Because a 500 grain slug will take a bear down just really quick.
he was saying that the idea was you can, with the birdshot, you can almost always hit them in the face
Right.
without problem. Now they're blind.
Right. Hopefully.
And that, and
And also pissed off.
Yeah, well, they're already pissed off, or you wouldn't be shooting them. You know, you don't shoot a
Well,
bear if you don't have to.
We're at least, Rick, we're above the snakes. We don't have a lot of snakes here. I mean, certain areas we do, but at a certain elevation, we have no more rattlesnakes. So you're pretty safe when you're in elevation.
We saw some tracks.
It's just the grizzly bears.
Saw some tracks up there that looked like either somebody's big dog or wolf. They were about that big. They were about a wolf size.
Coyote probably. Some
No,
of them
this
wolf tracks are big as your hand.
Now this was bigger than any coyote I've seen. And maybe you
Well,
got
there's some big coyotes here.
you have some
These
big guys.
western coyotes here are big.
How heavy did you get?
Oh, they'll get up to be 60 to 80 pounds.
Not a bad.
I mean, they're a lot bigger than the southern coyotes.
Yeah, those
They'll-
things are like 45 pounds.
Yeah, maybe a big one. Now you'll get some big ones here.
Yeah.
But no, if you see a wolf track, you'll go, whoa, look at that. And you know, it's a dog track, but it's as big as your hand almost.
Yeah, Philip, but my mining partner is my wife.
That's always been the standing joke, Philip.
Yeah.
Just be faster than the guy you're with.
Oh, by the way, I went to Sportsman's Warehouse January before we came up here and got some inexpensive insulated boots because
$70.
we were on a budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were 69 something. You're right. And I went.
Big discount.
They started coming apart. So I went to Sportsman's Warehouse here today to say, hey, I got these boots about 3 months ago and they're coming apart. These are good boots. And the guy says, well, those are some really cheap boots. They don't really have a warranty. However, and this is the key part, it's the end of the winter season. So all the insulated boots are 75% off. So I got a pair of Keen insulated boots for $47.
Wow.
These are like $180 boots.
Yeah.
So if you need some insulated boots, Sportsman's Warehouse right now is a good time to go get them.
Clear out the inventory.
Yeah. And so that was a really good buy there. Those should be some good quality
Well,
boots.
Keen boots last, they last good. That's a good brand.
No boot lasts good on bear.
Well, Well, in this
What
rock,
bear-
in this
what-
rock and stuff. I mean,
What Bear does to boots and socks should be criminal. It is ridiculous.
I was down at Murdoch's and they had muck boots on sale. They were clearing out at Murdoch's. So.
Yeah. Give her a 10 gauge. No, I don't think Eva can handle a 10 gauge.
That hurt.
Yeah. The Garand, I did find out you can get a new gas plug for the Garand. And it has a space in it, so it becomes, it spreads out the pressure wave. And so you can actually run standard hunting ammo in an M1 Garand safely now.
Wow.
With just like a little $15 part. So I definitely want to change that, because then I could go to actual legal hunting ammunition easily without having to buy a new rifle and all this other stuff. I've got a pistol scope for it, and
Hey,
I've got the
Busted.
reflex. Hey, Busted, yeah. How's it going? And so that's basically, what I was
Nice
thinking.
alternative.
Because, a 30-06 is a perfectly adequate hunting cartridge for most everything. It's a little light for grizzly and a little light for moose.
Again, just 3 more inches.
There you that
go.
sounds so wrong.
Okay, we're not going there.
But anyhow, so I say it would make life a lot easier, because up here you got a lot of good game.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
This is great for that.
I'm thinking more of going after waterfowl though, because I don't have much for the freezer. When's the duck and goose season? Fall?
Yeah.
Okay.
October.
So anyhow, let's see, what else did I do this week? We're out there doing the annual maintenance on those claims.
Yeah.
And so we can get to do that. And there was you'll see some videos when I make them, but the 2 declines at Montana B need a little bit of collaring. One of them, the lagging has broken, and you literally take a 12-inch rock and drop it, and it'll go into the decline and then down. This is not a good thing.
No.
And the other one, above it, they put a 2x12, or maybe a 3x12, piece of lagging, and then put some big rocks on it in order to make a bench up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that piece of lagging is no longer anywhere approximating straight. So we're gonna have to, shit's bending down bad. So we're gonna have to pluck those boulders off, and then rework it a bit, and then resecure everything. But Rick, I have heard that bear spray is not as reliable as a gun, but it
Bear spray
sometimes
pisses
works.
bears off.
Yeah.
That I did, it pisses bear off.
If you got the wind wrong too, and you open it a bear spray, you're gonna be wearing it also.
Yeah.
So it's got some downfalls. Plus, they got to get in fairly close to you, which is what you don't want.
Yeah.
You don't want them that close to you.
Well, the other thing too is with a gun, you can always fire a warning shot per se,
Right.
and hopefully scare them off before again they get into that danger zone.
Dissipate the danger. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd rather encourage them to leave than have to fight them off. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, bear already
That's
knows.
the joke here in Montana is the grizzly bear excrement smells like pepper and has bells in it.
But anyhow, so be doing a lot more work here real soon. Should be working. We should be putting together one of those impact mills next week, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We're going to start welding up a mill.
Yep.
Get the pieces and Yeah, that's right, Kevin. Makes you taste better. A little seasoning.
Yeah. So we got that. Hopefully we'll get it done in just a few days.
Yep.
Have to get the other materials purchased. And this one's for you, this one's for you, Jimmy. Once we get it put together and test it, because it is a somewhat new version, but this is for Jimmy. And once we get it together, we'll get it to you. And
I figured the bells, Ethan, that helps the bears figure out which way to run toward, at you. They can zero in on you better.
well, what you do is you have it on
On
some kind of a
stick
heavy
they can
weight, so
throw.
you can throw it. And they go, what?
I figured that's what that's for. They can zero in on you faster.
But so that's the basic plan. Then you're thinking of building one of these too, right?
I'm really contemplating it.
Yeah.
I think we'll see how this first one goes along, and if that works out good, then we'll, hopefully maybe even try to do a video with doing
Oh
it.
yeah, we will.
Keep it all on tape. Yeah, that's what I figured, Chris. Especially if they've been around them before, heard the hikers hiking by.
Okay, Adam, go ahead. Knock on the door. I'll give you a soda and invite you in. You can hang out with us while we do this. Yeah.
Yeah, if they're close. They were 4 feet away when you hit them with the bang stick. I'd prefer that. That's a little too close.
I don't know. What is it? An actual cartridge or
Yeah,
just noise?
no, it's a cartridge. It'll be, it'll take them down. It's like a rifle barrel, but you're putting it right at them.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You want a little horsepower behind whatever you're carrying.
Okay, Rick. As I, you can also just use my PayPal account. You don't have to go Western Union if you don't want to. Whatever works for you. And I'll need to know how to address the plans to you, because I'm not familiar with the exact procedures to Australia. But if you give me all the information, I'm sure I'll go to the post office and I'll figure it out.
Address and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, Ethan, I got a 44 mag. It's 357s are great against people, not so much against bears. By the way, Jason at Flower Gold, I sent you an email. I need your address again. When I tried to send a package for Mrs. Wizard there, the post office here couldn't figure out that this is not a valid address. So if you can reconfirm your address, I got some pretty rocks for Mrs. Wizard all packaged up.
And we're going to get more pretty rocks next time we go out. I found some, but Bear forgot to pick them up.
Yeah, well, it was a little big to mail.
Well,
It was a rock about this big with a band of jasper in it.
50-pound rock.
It had a nice band of jasper in it.
yeah, but Bear was going to take most of the rocks from me and break off a chunk for Mrs. Wizard.
Yeah.
It's my fault. What can I say?
Yeah,
It's the
that's
man's
okay.
fault again.
Bring it home and break it up a little bit. Huh?
I
Break
was
it up
trying
up there.
Oh,
Get
you
to
you
her.
gotta see this. When we bring this down, beautiful white dye, and it's got a nice, about 2-3 inch wide band of red and yellow jasper right
Wow, cool.
Which emissions were those, Chris? Send me a little email or something. Oh, it was right by the road, Stephen. That wasn't the problem. The problem was she was hurt. So,
there. I wasn't hurt, I was hurting. There's a difference.
okay. She was waiting for me to go get the truck. I had to go get the truck, do something, pick up samples along the road on the way back. Handy hint, folks, when you're out sampling near a road, leave them next to the road. Don't carry them all the way back to camp. So anyhow, and one of these buckets was sitting right next to that big rock, and I just forgot it. I was focusing on getting back to Eva.
No, you see, this is the thing. I was mildly hurting, and I decided to play my gender card and say, okay, I am going to sit on my butt here and enjoy myself meditating and looking at nature while Bear hikes back down the road and gets the truck and does all the hard work. And then he forgot my beautiful rock. which part of that rock is for Mrs. Wizard, so I'm kind of miffed.
It's all my fault. So anyhow, um,
Gender.
let me write on this list here. What was it?
No, it is
Chris
great.
wants me to check on the.
Location for the nameplate.
Huh?
Well, he said the mounting location for the nameplate.
Well, I haven't. I would presume probably the best place would be on the main frame
And then cover it somewhere.
or on the back of the chamber. You know, the outside near the pulley side. Either one of those places would be pretty good. I don't have the nameplates yet, so
Oh, Bear,
it doesn't matter.
ask Chris specifically if he knows about calorimetric assay kits, if he can recommend a good one.
Oh, and he wants to know, can you recommend a good calorimetric gold assay kit? You know any out there? I wish, David. Chris, was that the only
Update.
thing on that, Chris? Just where that was? Well, I need a formula. But anyhow, so if you have any other things besides that on the plans, just let me know, Chris. You can text or whatever, or I'm supposed to call you tomorrow anyhow. That's a freight or roadway. And so that's basically what we're looking at there. So I've got the final result from Butte. I don't know what's going on for sure there.
Yeah. Sooner or later you do that.
Then we're supposed to do a roofing job this weekend.
Yep.
What's the weather like? Any idea?
Well, Friday is, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see.
How
The
about
plan
Saturday,
is, well,
Sunday?
the plan is for Friday, and Saturday looks good. Friday had a chance of rain, maybe.
Well, I'll take a look at Sunday too, because it doesn't have to be Friday, Saturday.
No, it doesn't have to be. It's just if I get the dump trailer lined up, I want to just try to do the tear out.
Well, that would be bad in the rain.
Yeah, that's why I'm hesitating. But
Yeah.
tentatively, it's Friday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can send that as an addendum with the nameplates when I finally get them. The Vintage Machinery Channel nameplates, huh?
We should make our nameplates look old timey too.
I got no problem with that. What's this? So let's say you found a vein, has low gold content. Where do you send samples to have it tested for other valuable minerals and get a report of quantities per ton? Well, I usually send it to ALS Global. They're a little slow, as this was sent off in January and showed up yesterday.
That's about the luck I've had with ALS too.
Yeah. You don't get priority treatment when you're a small person.
But they're
What's the
reliable.
lab in Spokane? I can't think of their name off the top of my head.
But it's a 50 element analysis, and they're reasonably priced. But yeah, the speed's not that good. Yeah, because I like brass sand. By the way, how do people like Eva's concept of the Bowen ore buster mill? The Bob. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, when you need some rocks busted, go for ball.
Yeah. And so that's all in the works there. As you can see, we're pretty busy. Got things lining up here.
And you got the plans for your splitter done too.
Yeah, I got plans for the splitter done. So that's theoretically available. Again, someone like, over in Australia, the idea of shipping a splitter to Australia probably isn't incredibly, it's not that bad, but it's not very heavy.
Shipping anything to Australia is crazy.
I
You
don't know,
remember
we
the
used to-
hat?
No, but I remember shipping kettle corn to London.
It would be any worse.
Some lady really liked my kettle corn, moved
Well,
from
it
Tucson
cost
to
me
London.
$40 to ship a hat to Australia.
Yeah. Oh, that was a. Oh well, you have to be careful here. That would be a hat that extolled the virtues of the plan of the former president of the United States. It's a four-letter acronym that is probably illegal now. But yeah,
It was red.
yeah. Who was that we sent that to? One of your friends?
Yeah,
Okay. Now she had a
dude on Reddit, and since foreigners can't buy campaign gear for American politicians, I made a straw purchase.
At this point, I do not have jaw crusher plans. So that would be kind of one of the next things.
Maybe next winter we can work on that.
Yeah.
Because I want a decent jaw crusher myself.
Yeah. I'd like to have a jaw crusher, probably like a 6x8, but I'd like a 6x8 high reduction crusher. Slow it down some so that theoretically it's crushing it to like quarter-inch minus or something. And so that's going to really slow down your throughput, which
Right.
if we can get it balanced right to feed the impact mill so that
exactly
it acts as a feeder.
Right.
You choke feed the jaw crusher.
Yep.
And one thing you can do with the jaw crusher is you can have a pan feeder, and you can actually hook the pan to the movable jaw.
Yep. I agree.
And that way, the fewer moving parts, the better. And
Well, Chris, a jaw,
Yeah,
jaw
exactly.
it's heavy duty, but a jaw crusher really is not that many components.
well,
A long jaw.
yeah, busted. My mill would be a replacement for a chain mill. Okay. I've seen chain mills run. I run my mill. I think it has certain advantages.
It has a bunch of advantages.
It's not quite as simple as a chain mill, but it's not designed to be simple. It's designed to be part of an operation.
Right.
And so it works. It's self-feeding to a great extent. It crushes, it sizes without wearing out screens. It's got easily replaceable wear parts, and it blows the dust
Amazing.
out
control.
so that it can go someplace else and gain elevation and be dropped into another process without needing a conveyor or anything like that.
Less moving parts.
And I'm stilling mine from Me-Man Metals.
I think he meant he's sending it.
Okay.
It's assay samples.
Oh, okay. So, and so that's what I'm selling plans to that, busted. The complete set of plans, $100. And right now I'm working, say, with the plasma cutter guy here. He hasn't gotten me the final price yet. He's supposed to be emailing me the final price, but the materials cost, it was kind of funny. I don't know if I told you, but when we were heading out, he sent the price thing and it was $170 for materials. And I'm like, damn, I don't know where he gets his T1, but he's got the hookup. he texted me back shortly later. He said that he had a little misunderstanding with the supplier, and so it was going to be like $450 or $470 for materials, and that sounded more reasonable.
Yeah, the replier thought he said something by 6 inches when he said something by 6 feet.
Yeah, he had some measurements messed up.
And the basic thing is T1 is substantially more expensive than quarter-inch plate. Not too bad, about 50% more. I think it's probably a better idea, especially on the wear part.
Yeah, it'll wear better.
Yeah, the wear parts themselves, like the tip edges and such, those I would think would be just vastly better. I would with the T1.
It's going to give you some longevity. Whether it doubles the longevity or not, I guess you won't know until you put enough rock through it. But
yeah. Well, if it only costs 50% more and lasts twice as long, it's worth it. It's worth it. Yep, guaranteed, because you got less maintenance.
Yep.
And that's important. I could bust it, but right now I'm not that worried about it. I'm still testing this out. For example, this would be the first build of this particular one. I've built a very similar one, 6-inch wide. This will be 8 inches wide. So once we get it tested, I might. But yeah, if I were you, I'd wait until I got this one built up. Although these plans will cover a 4-inch wide chamber, a 6-inch wide chamber, or an 8-inch wide chamber. So I know I've got a 6-inch wide right now, and it's working fine. But that's kind of what I'm looking at. If we can get the plasma cutting and stuff done in the long run at a reasonable price, then we'll see about selling weld-it-yourself kits too, if somebody wants.
I think that's a good idea.
Because for those of you who've got reasonable welding skills, you don't have to be really good.
No.
And you could put it together yourself and save all of that hassle.
A lot of labor.
So I'm not sure exactly how it's going to go in the long run here. I think Jimmy's getting a smoking deal for $1,500, but that's what I quoted him. And that gives me the money to build the first prototype
and to film it. Work on it a little bit.
Make sure that all the bugs are worked out.
Yep.
And go from there.
Yep. And we can make the adjustments if we have to at all. And we're good.
Yeah.
I don't see any though. The plan was pretty good.
Well, again, since it's not like I'm building this from scratch. Actually, the biggest changes were in the ore chute on the cover, because those modifications were something, they're relatively significant, and I haven't actually tested them. What I had was similar to that, but I go, well, I want to do more of this and more of that and do it this way and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But we shall see.
Well, you keep perfecting.
Yep. So anyhow, why don't you take over for just a minute here? And
all right. Well, I figured a quick subject for this evening. To just talk a little bit about on your sites is using shortwave black light. And I don't know how many of you guys do this, but in the evenings or toward nightfall or underground at all, a shortwave black light can kind of tip you off if you can figure out some of the associated minerals with your gold. It can tip you off to identifying the vein maybe a little bit closer on the gold, or looking at mine dumps, as well as gemstones. A lot of gemstones will refract. You'll get some refraction that you can see at night way better than you would during the day. And the kids love this. Get them out in the evening from camp or whatever, and let them run around with the black light and see what they can find. But it does play into prospecting and trying to identify an ore vein inside a mine underground. Your waste dumps, your road cuts, your gravel, any gravel pits along roads, excavations, a lot of your outcrops. And this is not definitive. This was just to bring the subject up that if you want another way of possibly looking at ground or prospecting for, maybe an area that's never been mined, this is an interesting way to do it, is, finding quartz and calcite, scheelite, which is your tungsten. It can be good indicators that there could be gold in the area, or you're close in on a vein. If you get some nice light up on a vein, actually, it can determine the area in the vein that there actually is gold versus a bigger area that there isn't. So it's kind of an interesting subject, and we've played with it a little bit. If you get into the molybdenite, the moly, the only refraction you'll get there is only with the moly and sulfur. If you get into magnetite or iron oxides, the oxides will take away, the ions in the mineral will take away from getting a color refraction. Yeah, Chris, I just went along even slow with the four-wheeler along the road cuts, and it's amazing sometimes what it looks like during the day versus what it looks like at night with a shortwave black light running some of those road cuts is a really interesting way of finding something that you wouldn't have picked up on during the day, or maybe you'd say there should be a vein in here somewhere. Well, it can really help identify a target to at least dig and pull a test sample from. And you hear a little bit about it. There's a few guys that have mentioned it in videos and stuff, but it is it's one more tool in the toolbox when you're prospecting, is the way I look at it.
Oh man, you're one, huh?
Yeah, I just shut it down there. So hopefully that's the end of that. But so if any of you got any questions, what exactly is a short? Well, I've got one that I bought quite a few years ago. That's actually it's a mag light, but it's been modified for a short wave black light, so it shows purple. And if you go into, if you've got a mineral book or anything, if you go into ultraviolet shortwave, certain minerals will light up. Your quartz, your silicon dioxide and your quartz usually will be in a form of a green color at night when you light it up. Your calcite normally will be somewhere in the range of red and orange. Your calcium tungsten, which is your scheelite, your tungstens will usually be blue, white, or white. So they'll really stand out. Sometimes even when you're cleaning up really fine gold, if you run it shortwave light over your gold, unbelievable the amount of tungsten that's within your gold. So it's kind of interesting to see some really fine gold and how much white glows back at you, fluoresces just within your light gold. No, a standard black light isn't the same. There's short wave and long wave, and there's a range with minerals that in your short wave, you want to be within a range that's good with minerals. So, I'm bringing this subject up, do some homework. There is some fairly cheap battery operated, carryable field lights for shortwave black lights out there on the internet. Go ahead.
Chris, can you just off the top of your head say what nanometers they should be looking for on the shortwave?
I'd agree, Chris, with a lot of your skarn deposits are going to have these minerals in it. Sphalerite, your zinc, lead. You'll be in an orange range, or if you get into really, really neat sphalerite, it'll almost be a rainbow of colors. You'll get all these little dots of all these different colors, and then you can basically, at that point, you could tell it's sphalerite, it's zinc. And that's kind of neat to see at night under a light. Like I say, your mollies will end up, if you're in molly with sulfur, basically, an oxided molly with a sulfur sulfide, you'll be in a range of yellow, kind of. But it just works as another good idea for prospecting. And a lot of times you head back into camp or whatever and have dinner and it gets dark out and there's nothing else to do except maybe drink beer or whatever. You could go out on the road cuts and just walk, or go up in an area that you were looking at some mine dumps and run around with the black light. And it's a lot of fun, gets you outside on a nice evening, and it may show you something that during the day that you'd never even see.
It's also a great way to detect scorpions in the
Yep,
Southwest.
yep. Scorpions, anything kind of warm a lot of times. Paint marks, if you're using fluorescent paint in a mine, paint marks show up just unbelievable at night. So if you're trying to mark something out, it works really good with some orange paint. Agates, opals, and sapphires, your corundums, will also fluoresce. So if you're walking and you happen to run across some sapphires on a creek bed or something, a lot of times they will fluoresce enough to pull that color out, and you'll be able to walk over there and pick them up, and during the day you'd never even see them.
Okay, Busted Knuckles, what is a skarn deposit? You're new to hard rock. I would recommend something for you. There's a series of YouTube videos called Ore Deposits 101.
Yep.
And there's about 9 videos.
Yep.
And they are written on an intermediate level. They're not like professional geologists. This guy is trying to educate people who are investors in mines and such.
Right.
But he goes through all the different kinds of major type ore deposits, everything from diamonds and such. And one of them will be skarn deposits, and it'll give you a lot of very understandable detail. Now, you're going to find out that as you're watching it, he's going to mention words that you go, what the hell is that? Just pause, have a separate tab,
Yep. Google it,
look, and you will learn a lot of geology in the process.
Exactly.
Yeah, look at pictures too.
That's how you learn.
When you Google, don't only read the text,
No.
also click the images option to see photos of these things.
If you get into a really high copper or chalcopyrite area, sometimes the copper, you won't get the fluorescence because of the ions in the rock from the copper. It'll take away from the fluorescent. So, like in my copper mine, you can walk in there, turn the black light on, you don't see anything except our paint marks. Just because the copper, whatever the ions with the copper, it nulls it out. So you won't get fluorescence. But in most of your gold skarns, you're going to see these minerals, and all of these will fluoresce. Your quartz, your calcite, your scheelite, your sphalerite, and your molybdenum. Most of those in a gold skarn will show color. So it's an interesting way of, seeing if it changes your outlook of what you're looking at, and maybe gives you a better idea of where to pull a sample.
So what's the most basic way to describe a skarn without looking at the video?
Ooh.
Well, it's a hydrothermal alteration usually, but you can have a zinc skarn, you can have a copper skarn, you can have copper gold skarn, you can have a gold skarn. It depended on the mineralization of what was coming up, basically. And a skarn, if you can find a skarn, in a lot of cases, a skarn is also connected to a porphyry deposit at depth, which will go more to a kind of the VMS, the volcanic massive sulfide deposit at a lot deeper level. The skarn a lot of times will be the top of something bigger, possibly, depending on the vein structure in the rock and the faulting in the area.
Yeah, a lot of times people look at the term skarn as basically an iron oxide outcrop, and that's sort of sometimes.
It can be an indicator, definitely. Yeah. And in this area, a lot of these gold deposits are skarn deposits until you get to depth, where you may get into VMS or of actual porphyry itself, where you start to go to lead, silver, zinc. You pick up a lot of the other things.
Yeah, it's geology is a very complex field in general, and so
Right, but
I still use a separate tab all the
I guess
time.
we're trying to simplify it for at least ideas for you guys to be able to be on the ground and possibly find something that's been completely overlooked, or an area that the economics at the time of the mines, especially in the old days, didn't work out for them, but nowadays very, very much could.
Skarns are basically, according to the definition, calcium silicate mineral deposits that typically have things like garnet and such in them.
Correct.
But I don't think Keith knows what a wrench is. That's what's laying on the bed, right? But anyhow.
Ooh.
All right, Bear. You know you got
Duck.
Bear. Now you know you have to sleep sometime. Watch out for you.
I said duck.
Anyhow, so let's say that the actual term skarn is quite often used imprecisely.
Correct.
And so what you'll often hear as a skarn is basically an outcropping that's got a lot of iron oxide in it. And that's not necessarily a true skarn.
No, really, I mean, if you get into a true skarn, you'll have a combination of these minerals basically right here that'll identify it as a skarn. And you can look up skarn minerals. And it'll basically give you a list that's going to be very similar. Quartz, calcite, your scheelite, your garnet will show up, your magnetite, possibly some of your oxides. And definitely it could be copper, chalcopyrite, or you could get into higher iron oxides where it's pyrite and iron oxides. And I'm not sitting here trying to confuse you. It's just, you got to do a little bit of homework, because you do want that homework when you get in the field is really going to help you if you can understand a skarn deposit, for instance. Keith's over here looking up UV mineral.
I'm trying to see what they've got
for field lights.
Entry level light price range from a few dollars to ridiculous price of
right. Yeah, you can spend as much as you want.
Do you where the really cheap ones are? Cheap. Pure unfiltered shortwave lights are garbage. The small 4-watt shortwave lights are very low power and will only light up a small area. Field lights. The first shortwave light most people own
yes,
is a
Mr.
medium
Lodak,
power portable shortwave.
Opal will show up under shortwave black light really nice, actually. I don't know if you've ever seen opal hunters on, the Australians down there on TV, but you could probably pull them up off the internet also and watch one of their shows. But that's one way they'd actually be used to identify some of the opals. Go in at night and overview it with a shortwave light. And there's some minerals that a long wave will work with too, and those I'm not that familiar with because I've just delved into this because it's another tool that I've been able to use.
Let's see what Amazon's got and get an idea of what we're looking at here. Portable sterilizer lamp, I don't think so.
No, it isn't. There you go.
365 nanometer flashlight with filtered 3 LED. Yeah. Now, Chris, 365 nanometers, is that in the short wave that we're looking at? Okay, there it is. 200 to 300. 200 400.
Yep. Thanks, Chris, for the input there. That helps out a lot.
So here's one. Rechargeable, 3 LED, 365 nanometer, filtered. Okay, so that sounds pretty good for a cheap one.
Yeah, 35 to 40 bucks.
Yeah. I
395 nanometer.
it says make sure you get
Yeah,
filtered.
some little ones. Yeah, you want filtered light. Otherwise, it's so hard on your eyes too. If you're unfiltered UV.
Let's see. I would be very skeptical of a cheap ass one unless you were just looking for scorpions.
Yeah, on take, I agree with you. I mean, up where we were able to sell some gravel from our placers for the county. The county actually bought some of our gravel coming off the sluice spots. They're piling it. But yeah, if to have a secondary level of income in a mine is ideal if you can do it. I mean, some of these locations it's impossible, but it's always a good idea if you can figure out another way of making money at the same time.
Yeah, apparently 395 is intermediate wave, and 365 is the short wave. Okay. Now this one here, this is something I'd be willing to buy come next paycheck, little one. It's the UV Beast, 365 nanometer, filtered, rechargeable, comes with batteries and the charger, and 80 bucks.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
And basically, it looks like about smaller than what you've got.
That's great. And I think back when I bought this, it was like $45. I want to say, but that was I don't know, 12 years ago. It was a while ago.
Well, and that's not very well filtered either.
No, it isn't. It isn't. It does do the it's done the job.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the other guys I know has another one, and by God, we've been able to go out and use them going across the hills and looking. So I just thought I'd bring that up as an interesting little subject, a little sideline, a side note of one more tool that you could possibly use in what you're hunting. And like I say, this is not definitive at all. This is just to kind of get you some information that you can do some homework with and take it from there. But, like I say, the kids like it. If you got kids at camp or where you're hunting, your grandkids or whatever, it's a neat way to keep them entertained too. It's like go find some good looking rocks here at night and walk around.
Don't stare into it.
Yeah, don't stare into the light, but here, let's go.
On tag, I agree that whenever possible, it is nice to be able to sell your waste rock. Depending upon the situation, sometimes that just doesn't work. For example, in hard rock, you can have a lot of alteration, and so the host rock is just crap and doesn't make very good rock. Montana B, it's got quartzite. That'd make a good crushed rock, for example. And
Terry, I've never tried it in water, but I would think as long as it was shallow water, it very much could work. As far as, especially in the gemstones, your agates, your sapphires.
The sapphires glow too?
Yeah, sapphires. Yeah.
Hey, little one.
Yeah, that's why I said.
Glow.
Why I said.
Okay.
That's kind of what brought me to this subject because Eva was
Now I've got
talking about
permission.
Do amethyst
gemstones.
glow? Do amethyst
No,
glow?
I
Oh,
do not
amethyst.
believe so.
Well, they're quartz.
It might.
Yeah, purple quartz.
It might. I guess.
Hey, Terry. Poor fish. I don't care about my stinking fish. I catch the fish. I eat the fish. Actually, no, she eats the fish. I catch them.
Where I found it pretty handy is like underground in some of these veins, you'll see multiple vein together, different colors there. Well, you shut your headlight off, turn the black light on and look at it, and it's like, okay, there's the site I want to pull a sample quick from, specifically because of the alteration in colors.
No, we're going to take your light out next trip and see what we can see with it.
Yeah.
But I'll see about I think this one looks pretty good here. A little pricey, but I say, you want the filtering. That's
Definitely.
for sure.
Yep.
you know.
No, and there's a lot better products out than were out. When I first started looking, I was having a hard time even finding a light. Everybody's like, well, what do you want one from the field for? You know? They had a lot of, you can buy a 110 that you can plug into the outlet, but that doesn't do you much good where I go. Unless you're going to carry a generator and cords with you.
You don't have a backpack, or maybe a 12-volt battery with a big inverter.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Geez,
geez,
right away.
all this negativity, man. Yeah. As they will. It's going to be a pretty busy week. We'll probably be focusing most on the impact mill over the next week. I don't know. I've got to get back out there to Montana Bee and finish up some other stuff that we're. Hopefully, we'll wait for the samples to come back, which will give us a little. Yeah.
That's.
And then get out there and do some stuff. I hope you guys found my methodology of setting a monument on a claim useful. By using the rebar,
Let you in here a little more.
it sometimes is quite helpful when you got a lot of rocks.
Yep.
You know. No, I did not, Jeremy.
That's, I've been just looking for subjects that I can bring in and things that we've done. And I thought this was just a good one because it's one more tool that you have an opportunity, possibly. And like I say, if you're in really a good copper skarn or something, you may not see any color. But you get into some calcite or quartz, the neat thing here is it'll tell you which is which by color. And so right away you can say, okay, that's calcite, and over there, that's quartz.
Do you know if dolomite?
Dolomite will give you slight fluorescence.
Yeah, kind of hard to see that. Yeah, because the Montana Bee is supposedly about 35% dolomite, 35% quartz.
It'll be interesting to see if
25% iron oxide.
See, the iron oxide could take away from it, but it's something you can try. I mean, it's an extra flashlight in the backpack.
Hey, Volker Bear. Yeah, I'm doing great. And when I'm getting out in the field, I can feel each trip I'm getting stronger, more endurance and stuff.
It's good for you.
Yeah, it's just I was really impressed with how well Eva's doing. It's going to be a balancing act to balance pushing yourself to where you gain as much as possible and you don't break yourself in the process.
Yeah, don't get hurt.
Boy, when we were coming back, when we stopped at Townsend and to get a little something to eat, just getting out of the truck,
It was like,
oh man.
Sucks to get old.
Oh, I tell you what. Yeah.
The worst thing's getting back into the hiking and the uphill, the elevation and stuff.
Yeah,
by the time you get to enough trips, though, you start to feel better and better about doing it.
Yeah. So that's basically the next couple weeks is going to, hopefully Butte will come through.
Well, it looks like the weather is finally maybe going to turn the corner for us, and that's been the biggest thing is snow every other day. It kind of gets old at this point.
Well, it's the wind that really gets me. Okay, Mr. Lodak.
Yeah, we'll see you later.
What got me was this morning when I got up to go to the bathroom and it was like 3 a.m. and the drapes were pretty lit up. And because when it's snowing, it reflects that light.
Yeah, that's a different.
And it's just amazing how well it illuminates things.
A fresh snow.
Yeah. I look outside and I go, wow, I'm glad we're back in town.
It says, hey, it's snowing.
Yeah.
And I got up and I opened the curtain and I'm like, wow, it's snowing.
Yeah, yippee. Again.
Yeah, that's because we weren't in the camper. And so, anyhow, that's kind of the basic plan. Eva will be here in a few minutes here. Does anyone have any quick questions or anything here? Because again, it's kind of frustrating not having a whole lot more to tell, but I just don't, because I can only do so much, and some of that is confidential information, at least at first in many cases. Other times it just has to stay confidential and go from there. But so we're getting a lot done, and watching for grizzly bears now.
Yep, that's the new thing.
Are the black bears around here much of a problem?
Not usually. Most of the time, if I run across a black bear, if you yell at them or that, they're gone. The grizzly bears, though, they might come to check out what you're doing. You know, so yelling at them isn't necessarily an answer.
I don't yell at them. I mean, if I want to scare one away, I'd fire around with the 44. That,
Yeah, oh yeah.
that'll hurt
Yeah.
your ears.
But
Tell you
I
what.
mean, I've bumped into them. You just come around a little corner in the trail or the road, and then there's a bear stand there, and it's like, oh crap, you know. It's the distance is close enough. It kind of alert you. It's like, oh,
Well, most of the stuff that I've been working so far is not in the timber, and so you've got some visibility.
that's a
That
good
helps a
That's a
lot.
good thing. Yes.
Yeah, because I would expect, you know, where I've been so far now. I know there's going to be some timber somewhere, but even looking at our targets, I'm not seeing heavy timber anywhere.
And I've only ever seen one mine that I went in that had bear sign in it, where they did, which would be a black bear more than likely. But I've only ever seen one time. I've seen where there's been mountain lions in the portal, you know, in the front of the portal. But I've never seen another one that has seen bear sign back.
I must admit, I'm looking for tracks when I
Oh
come
yeah,
up
oh
to where you're at
definitely.
now,
No, I
right?
mean I do that all the time. It's like what's been going in and out of here before I'm going in.
Yeah, down in Tucson, it's rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
You know, out here, no, rattlesnakes not the issue. Big furry claw things. You know.
Yeah, we had that snowstorm, Volker. Last night we had, I don't know, 4 inches this morning, give or take. And it was melting as it was coming, so that helped. But it was pretty white here this morning.
I'm not getting any gold at the present time. Doing basically exploration work at the moment and waiting for more results from the analyses that are being run by other people before I actually try and do some more extraction experiments. I'm really hoping that Coulter comes up with a way of magnetically separating the iron oxide.
That would be interesting.
I'm thinking that limonite is probably not magnetic at all. Hematite is weakly,
Limonite wouldn't be.
magnetite is strongly, but the limonite,
That's gonna.
I don't think that's.
Usually that's light enough to float off the limonite, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but if it's got the gold, that's a
Well,
bad thing.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you think about it, if the limonite is going to tend to be one of the softest minerals you've got,
Right.
so if you pulverize, say like with my impact, if I cut back if I increase the size of the output particles and then screen it, the limonite's going to be the first thing just blasted to dust.
Right.
So then suck that up, basically, and then gravity extract the rest. You know, and that might work, right? But that's one of the frustrating complexities about hard rock is that there's no
Vertical
simple,
size.
easy system.
Well, sooner or later you have to get lucky and find a mine with really coarse gold. Right?
Sooner or later, it'll happen. one of our
At
targets.
least that's what I keep hoping for.
One of these targets that we're waiting to get
After you
to
have some
said
good free
said it
milling,
had free mill gold.
free milling gold would be nice.
Actually, it said the native gold. Whatever that meant to the geologist who did that.
How were the old vertical shafts? A lot of them, they just push debris in them just to plug them.
I've seen a lot of them, they aren't sealed at all, as a
No,
matter of
yeah,
fact.
there's a lot of open shafts here.
Yeah, where I was
Or-
looking recently.
Or collapsed enough that they're scary.
Yeah, I saw some not too long ago that I said, you know, if we stake this, we need to put some fence up.
Yeah.
Because they're small, they're on a hillside, they got
Brush around
bushes.
them, yep,
And I mean, you couldn't see the hole, you could only see the dump.
exactly.
And that could get real unpleasant in a big hurry.
I've seen drift mines and drainages like that even.
Mm-hmm.
I walked up on one day and I looked down that thing and went, wow. And I couldn't see the bottom. And I got my flashlight out of my backpack and I hung out over it. I couldn't see the bottom of the flashlight. So the next time I was up there, I took a fishing rod with a big 1 ounce weight.
Yeah.
And I put it down. It was 47 feet to the bottom of that drift hole in the drainage. And the creek was about 10 feet away running on the surface. And I'm like, how can that drift not have water in it? But evidently they went, through enough clay residual or something when they dug it that they literally went down and went under the creek with the drift.
Yeah.
And no water in it.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow.
Yeah, a dog would be a good thing in bear country, I would imagine.
I have a little blue heeler that I tried. She's getting old now. She can't do the miles anymore, but that was her whole purpose is bears. And she doesn't like bears, and she will let you know it.
They train for that in rattlesnakes in
Yep.
Arizona.
No, that was my backup because I spent so much time in the backcountry by myself. The dog was my partner, but the dog, the whole reason for the dog was bears.
No, they're real good at stuff like
Yep.
that.
They can wind a bear from across the drainage and at least let you know there's one there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of these samples I've taken recently have some really heavy limonite in them, and I was thinking, it wouldn't be anything to turn that limonite to dust.
Nope, it's soft.
It's so soft. There's free milling gold in it, and that'll free it up.
Mm-hmm.
If there's real fine gold in it that you need to try and capture, then you can maybe separate it that way. I found it real interesting that the slimes were there's the head grade,
Yep.
there's the slimes
Slimes.
grade,
Greater than the
50% upgrade.
Ouch. That's fine gold.
Yep, and well, 80% passing 6.8 microns. Yeah, I'd say that's fine gold.
Damn fine gold.
Yep. No, the pug is just fine. You said you got to outrun your partner. No, just outrun the pug.
Yeah.
If he's sitting there peeing, the bear's gonna be like, "What the hell is
At
this?"
least if he lets you know there's a bear there, that's all that counts. It's an alert.
But anyhow, so I say we shall see.
Hey, smoking.
We'll be repelling soon enough. Sure, sounds
Yeah.
good to me. Smoking.
Yeah, we'll
Two
see.
demerits.
Gotta go to work, you gotta go to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Work?
You'd be worse than dead if you left the country.
Why are you using profane terms in front of me?
You don't have to say you left the pug behind.
You can just say it happened.
You were reaching for it and it was grabbed for your very fingertips. And then just put some scratches on you and stuff and say, then the bear smacked me out of the way. And while he was munching the hors d'oeuvres, you decided to exit stage left and avoid being the main.
Well, I kind of feel the same way. I'd hate to lose my dog. It's been my best friend for a long time. But if it comes to sacrificing something, unfortunately, it's the dog.
Yeah, I mean,
Or the slower
it's
person,
supposed to be a
whatever.
pet, not an owner.
Oh, question, Jim.
Yeah.
Other than mountain lions, do we have other cats around here, like lynx?
Yeah,
bobcat,
there's
and
lynx
stuff?
and bobcat here.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I haven't seen any scattered tracks anywhere, but
Mainly in the snow and higher up is where you'll see them. But well, you'll see bobcat tracks in the low country, just like in the desert, in a wash or something. But
Do they hibernate?
no,
No.
they hunt.
no.
We have snowshoe hares here, a little
Okay.
bit smaller than the jackrabbit, and that's mainly their food source.
Ah,
Short of the mice and voles and whatever they can find. Exactly, Chris. I agree.
yeah. I'm not sure about the Gold Bug Pro. I know the Gold Bug 2 comes highly recommended.
I would think it would have the same characteristics.
Yeah.
I would
The old
think
Gold
so.
Bug was pretty good too. And I'm also planning on taking Jim's metal detector up sometime to see if I can spot the basically hot rocks.
Right.
The one I've got is now it's a Mine Lab 4000.
Mm-hmm. It was a good
It's
machine.
big, it's a beast, and it's specifically designed to eliminate hot rocks.
Yep.
And so it's like it's the wrong tool for the job, and it's an uncomfortable tool. Now, if I had the wrong tool, but it was easier to carry or something, it might make some sense. But in this case, it would make more sense to test it out with something simple
Right, and that'll pick up the hot rocks.
and
easy
see if it works.
It's the tools.
We did see one reason we were going between the two escarpments was because that was the zone where the pack rat vein is located.
And you'd have some faulting or something identifiable.
So maybe there's,
Yeah.
we were looking to see if we spotted any outcrop. We didn't see any, although we saw some things that looked potentially interesting, which of course I sampled.
Mm-hmm.
And so we shall see how those assays come out. The hand panning didn't show anything that got me excited, but we'll see. If the assays show good, then we'll go out and stake some more claims.
Exactly, smoking, and sometimes it isn't the high quality metal. Like what Keith's looking for is possibly above a hard rock mine to identify a zone, and the hot rocks could possibly identify that. Well, a fairly inexpensive metal detector very well could do that job.
No, Chris, I haven't. I can do that with a high-powered magnet.
Yep.
But I was thinking that basically just looking for hot rocks might be a successful.
See if you can figure a pattern out.
It's easy to do. It's easy to try.
Yep.
It's cheap. It's quick. It's simple. He's got the tool. So what the hell?
That's what they're for.
Blackhawks?
Must be the military flying over.
It was shaking, so it had to be big enough.
Did it start?
I hope not. But yeah, that was no medical chopper there. But I say we shall see. We got lots of stuff to do. We had a good time this trip. The weather was nice, and say we shall see. We got some stuff I want to get done this week. Then we got the roofing job. Then we got the impact mill to build. So probably towards the end of next week.
Yeah, it'll be busy here for the next 10 days or so anyway.
Yeah, and then we'll be ready to go out there. We'll know all the information we need, so we're not guessing, shooting in the dark, things like that. So should work just fine. 7:30, little one.
Okay.
Nope. Here comes Eva.
Here's the boss.
Maybe
See,
she
now
wants
this
that.
hard hat fits snugly, the way a hard hat is.
You know what we could try? We could see if the insert fit the other one. The suspension made this snap right in.
I know. Well, I survived this week's trip. I did hiking. I hiked probably 1 5/16 mountains all by my little lonesome self with Bear just kind of being there, you know. The
Safety
intrepid
bear.
explorer thing. In mining news, there's a lot of new prospects that are apparently being looked at and developed in foreign countries. But I did notice that a couple of mining companies have increased their gold and silver production in Arizona. So good for Arizona. The whole state is falling apart, but oh well. You know, hopefully the mines will keep working right. Our new head of the Department of Interior is making climate change noises, and there was apparently there was a live stream yesterday concerning potential changes to the not the mineral, but the oil and gas leasing on federal lands that I have not had a chance to watch yet. So far, they're not making noises about our part of the industry. But I suspect that will change over time. I am still trying to find the super top secret regulations that they supposedly follow, though they publicly state that they follow the amendments to the Mining Act of 1872 that were done in 1976. The way they're managing things actually is not consistent with that whatsoever. But getting a hold of the super secret regulations, even though they're supposed to be public record, is proving to be difficult. This does not surprise me. Some voices in terms of the economy are in Congress now. A couple of Congress critters are actually mentioning the dreaded I word. They're making concerned noises that the I word may be in the offing. Now, Bloomberg is making concerned noises that the bubble occurring systemically within the stock market and the commodities market is actually leading to deflation. And a couple of voices have mentioned stagflation. But in response to all this, a great piece of wisdom emerged from Treasury. The Treasury Department has decided that a sustained 2% inflation rate is absolutely sustainable and absolutely healthy. And in fact, it is the desirable outcome. They're pushing for a sustained 2% inflation rate based on their super accurate and incredible inflation models and consumer price indices and other things, which of course do not actually take into account about 75% of the prices that we all have to deal with every day. We all know that when the government says we have a 1.4% inflation rate that is about to become a 2% inflation rate, what is the best way? Perhaps the best way to put this is they are living in an alternate universe. Okay, they're living in an alternate universe. We all know that their concept of inflation, whether you use the actual definition of we have way too much paper money around or consumer prices are going through the roof, is almost, but not quite, entirely bullshit. And in other news, there are squirrels over there. We should all watch them. Just, start watching squirrels and ignore all that. When it comes to gold and silver, anecdotally around the country, I have heard premium prices of 40%, 50%, 60%. Jim here said he was talking to people. Where were they? Minnesota?
Back in Minnesota.
Back in Minnesota.
The dealer was at 100%
100% premium for the dealer that he spoke to.
$50 an ounce.
$50 an ounce for silver. So while the market price, the stated price for gold and silver is staying stable, gold is running around 1,780 today. Silver is running about 25 an ounce. the fact that people are willing to pay 40, 50, 60, 80, or 100% premiums, even buying from the best clearinghouses online, tells you more about the actual value over the stated value of these minerals. And some noises are being made about the real estate market because the real estate market posted an astonishing 16 to 18% increase in the national average value of real estate in the first quarter of the year. Now, part of this may be due to the fact that lumber and material prices to build new houses increased between 100 and 200% in the last year, and those prices are not going to go away anytime soon. Part of this is because there is a migration happening. We are seeing more people wanting to get out of these high cost of living and high crime rate cities and get into rural areas. So like here in Montana, like all the other rural areas, South Dakota, you're seeing a huge increase in real estate values. This makes a lot of sense because more people are beginning to get a little worried. They're finding watching squirrels to be a slightly less than optimal strategy at this point. And that is understandable. It is something to keep an eye on if you're considering shifting houses or you're considering getting into housing. It's not going to be as easy as it was. In terms of where we're going in mining, everything that I'm seeing from the government, which is precious little, is looking like they're going to make things a little bit difficult for miners. The local BLM office has noted, and they expressed to Bear, that they're getting record numbers of claims, but they are getting no increase in funding and no increase in staffing. On one hand, this is a really good thing because that means that all of the government peons are going to be stuck in the office. They will not be able to come out in the field. On the other hand, this is a bad thing because it gives them the perfect excuse to pull their usual trick of they get a mining claim and something about those claim forms is not correct and needs to be cured. Now, according to regulations, they're supposed to tell you right away, oh, this needs to be cured and fixed and you have 90 days to fix it. However, if they're short-staffed, and in the past when they just wanted to invalidate people's claims just because, their standard MO here is to inform you day 92, oh, this was screwed up and you didn't fix it in 90 days, so tough luck.
Mm-hmm.
We shall see. That happened to Bear twice, by the way. So we shall see what happens there. If you are going out to stake claims, now more than any other time, make sure that you find out what the specific regulations are for your stake and get from the BLM in writing, if you can, the specific regulations that you need to satisfy them, and do everything right the first time. Double and triple check yourself before you give them your money, because the Fed, in their infinite wisdom, has already decreed that they will have no problem at all covering Lord Malarkey, the Incoherent's latest $4 trillion boondoggle on top of the last $1.7 trillion boondoggle. And our national debt, the stated public figure that they have been fudging for a long time anyway, is currently standing at $28.1 trillion. Well, there's only a few ways that the Fed can get money. They can get money by raising taxes, and we all know Lord Malarkey is going to raise taxes. They can get money by raising various types of fees, and they're already raising various types of fees. They can get money by taking your fees and then telling you, screw you, you messed up, we're keeping your money anyway. and they have no objection to doing this whatsoever. They can get money by printing it. Any way you look at it, that's not a good thing. But there is a bright spot here. The bright spot here is our government has said in the name of the new climate emergency. Mind you, we now have officially a climate emergency. This is no longer global warming. That went out of fashion when the world started getting really cold. This is no longer climate change. It is now officially a climate emergency. And under this climate emergency, more and more federal agencies are making noises about reducing our fossil fuel dependence by 80% by the year 2030, not just 50%. And this is going to create a ridiculous demand for the rare earths and also for copper. We're already facing some long-term copper bottlenecks and overt shortages due to changes in regulatory climates, due to COVID restricting how mines are operating right now, and a few other things. Currently, some sane voices here and there, none of which happen to be in the United States, of course, are raising concerns about the fact that the Panda Patrol, to put it politely, has control over about 80% of the world's rare earths. We do have rare earths here. We are not mining them, other than one place in California, and I'm sure California will fix that as soon as they are done wrecking everything else. Australia apparently has some reserves, and I hope the heck the Australians mine them and tell the Panda Patrol to go away.
Get to work, Rick.
But there is going to be an across-the-board increase in the need for rare earths and also in the need for minerals like nickel, lead, and copper, and the less valuable things. So it's worth keeping an eye on what you have available in that regard. Gold is great. Silver is even better. Silver is always better than gold. I don't care what these guys say. Crystals are great for the woo-woo crowd. If you can find crystals, we tinfoil hatters and woo-woo people love crystals, and we pay good money for them. But this is a good time to position ourselves, because at some point, we already have states that are pushing back on federal overreach on the most obvious things, which is a good thing. And at some point, I suspect that a lot of our states are going to start pushing back on government overreach in general when that overreach directly impinges on or hurts their economic progress. And especially in states like Montana that have a rich, diverse group of minerals available and a strong mining base, as the economy continues to disintegrate, states like ours are going to be looking and saying, well, you know, the only thing standing between us and actual prosperity is these yo-yos in Washington and the way they fund greenie weenies and environmentalists who sue us or suborn us or otherwise intimidate us into passing legislation that is financially devastating. And I think some of that level of regulation will start to disappear on the state level, if not the federal level. Because like here in Montana, we could be using cyanide. Every other state uses cyanide. We're not using cyanide because somebody passed a law at some point. There's no reason why we cannot pass a new law at some point to correct this situation, because it is a safe way of processing. There are clear federal guidelines as to how it can be used, and we have a reason to do it. And yes, stop the trucks till they beg. I would agree with that. Yep, Chris, blackened forest on a massive scale. That's absolutely the case in your state.
Here too.
Oh, yeah.
We lost
tens of thousands of acres here over the last few years.
Yeah, but in California, the main reason they've lost so much acreage is because of a couple of decades of severe forest mismanagement.
That's what happened here though too. Same thing right here in Montana.
But I'm pretty sure that we are smart enough here to say, okay, that was a really dumbass idea. We're going to change this. And that's the thing is whether you find yourself in a state that can look at former regulation and former legislation and say, okay, this was a monumentally stupid idea. We need to change this. Or whether you live in California, where that's never going to happen. At this point, if you're trying to get a hold of precious metals, you really need to shop around. The shortages in junk silver and in small quantities of gold are becoming more noticeable again online on the biggest exchanges like Comex, AppNex, Money Metals, and Kitco. I was looking through Kitco today, and there was a whole lot of silver rounds that had not been sold out before are now sold out. And a lot of their purchases are now being limited, which is rather interesting. I've noticed that on several metal sites today. So it's going to get harder to find, and this would be a good time to shop around and check everybody's premiums. It's also a good time to consider checking the places most people don't check, like pawn shops, estate sales, to some extent gun shows, though from what I've heard from my contacts, junk silver has basically disappeared from gun shows. All they're seeing is numismatics, peace dollars, Morgans, things of that sort. They're not seeing any of the lower value stuff anymore because it's all disappeared. Commodity prices. Well, on Tag, I was reading an article about that today. I believe it was over on Kitco. They were saying that the stock bubble and the incipient deflationary trend that has been going on, according to Bloomberg, is going to severely impact commodity prices going forward. Bloomberg is now sounding the alarm about deflation because, as they pointed out, we all know the markets, and this includes commodities now, are no longer tied to reality. The prices are far above where they should be for what is actually going on. Nobody is looking at fundamentals. And the baseline prices for things are stagnating, and in some cases, like the cases of precious metals, being actively suppressed. So Bloomberg is getting worried about a long-term deflationary cycle. They are saying that this is going to impact the commodities market, and they are saying we're going to see a further softening of the dollar, which is not going to help any of us. And yes, Stephen B., everything is detached from fundamentals. Fundamentals, that's a word that most people don't even bother using anymore because apparently the meaning has now changed to, whatever unicorn and fairy farts they're trying to sell this week is now fundamentals. But Bloomberg was positing the idea that when we're watching the commodities market for deflation, we need to watch what actually happens with the commodity oil, primarily because oil commodities have been depressed for a while, and unless those start rising, Bloomberg is like, okay, people, we need to start getting out of commodities, we need to start getting out of stocks, we need to start getting into hard assets and equities and other interesting things. And the Panda Patrol has now suddenly decided for some reason that cryptocurrency is not a terrible threat. It's actually a pretty good idea. That's a bad sign. If the Panda Patrol likes it, that means they have found a way to exploit it to their advantage. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on them too. Well, yeah, you can't run an economy on selling houses and cars to each other unless you're Canada. I would agree with that. I really would, of course. That's another interesting thing that has happened. The used car market in the country here, in the US, has become increasingly bizarre lately. In the sense that people are now getting far higher prices for the used cars they're selling than they were last year. For no apparent reason, since a lot of used cars are now selling well above Kelley Blue Book values. I haven't figured out why that's going on yet, but I'm going to start doing some digging.
There was an article recently that they're expecting a shortfall of between 1.5 and 5 million vehicles in production this year due to a lack of microchip.
Cool. Okay, apparently we're going to have a new car shortage this year. Wow. Considering that a lot of people can't afford a new car anyway, I'm not too worried about that myself.
What do you mean? Where's my bonus check?
On the matter of standing prices for timber are stagnant while lumber is doubled. Now that is very interesting that you bring that up, because I do not remember the video that Bear found. But Bear found a video for me. The guy was talking about what the heck was going on with the lumber prices. And here in the US, this is something a lot of people don't understand about supply chains. Whenever you have a supply chain disruption, a whole lot of dynamics are going on, but one thing is true. If the supply is stable and the demand is stable, then the place where all the profit is going to be made is in the bottleneck between the two. Now, what's going on with lumber in the U.S. can't answer for Canada because the lumber industry has been screwed by COVID. But what was going on in the U.S. is a lot of people were growing more timber because of a farm program that Reagan passed back in the 80s that said, okay, you can take your farmland out of production and grow trees and we'll pay you for it. So they have all this standing timber. And we certainly have a demand for timber. We just don't have that many lumber mills between supplier and consumer to process this timber. So during this great lumber price ratcheting up that's going on, the people that are making the majority of the profits are the 4 or 5 really big lumber mills in the U.S., like Weyerhaeuser is one I know, and
Georgia Pacific
is another one. So when you only have X number of people that can process this stuff, and those X number of people have the ability to scale up, so they can put on 3 shifts, or they can open a factory that they have mothballed, then they basically have control over the movement of the price. And that's what was happening with our timber industry here, is there aren't enough small-scale lumber companies that have ties to infrastructure to ship nationally. So in some places, you can have regional lumber mills. They can buy regional timber. They can process regional timber. They can sell that timber regionally, but they don't have the ties to sell that timber nationally. So only in that area where they are operating, prices are going to stay fairly stable and do what you expect them to do. But in the case of the lumber you get at your big box stores like Home Depot and Lowe's, that lumber is sourced through mega lumber mills. So the mega lumber mills are the ones making all the extra money. And, there's not much that can be done about that. It's not necessarily price gouging, Rick, because in some cases it is. I would not be surprised at all if you found that some of these companies had decided to increase their markup by 20 or 30 or 40% for no reason. But I also keep in mind companies like our kettle corn company. When we raised our prices by $1 on a bag of kettle corn, you would have thought it was the end of the world with some of our customers, because why the hell did we have to raise our prices because popcorn is so cheap, blah, blah, blah. Well, our labor prices had gone up a couple of bucks an hour since our last price increase. Our propane prices had gone up 40% since our last price increase. Our corn prices had gone up 10% since our last price increase. So in order to keep the very small profit margin we had to raise the price by about 20%. And people couldn't get that. What happened during COVID is a lot of prices on things that normally are stable temporarily spiked because the plants that made them were shut down or were running on minimal staff and had greatly decreased production, and the mines weren't producing the way they used to. The lumber companies weren't cutting lumber, so lumber mills were shutting down because there was no lumber coming in because the lumber companies were closed because of COVID lockdown. So there are times when you'll get a whole group of sudden price spikes due to a black swan event like COVID-19. That is a good reason for your production cost to temporarily double, and in some cases, temporarily triple. We had a few times when we couldn't get a hold of, for instance, 5-gallon jugs, 35-pound jugs of corn oil for our kettle corn. So we had to buy it in 2.5-gallon jugs and even in 1-gallon jugs, which basically tripled the price of that item. There were times when we ran out of corn and I would go to a grocery store and be filling up an entire grocery cart with 2-pound bags of popcorn at full retail price, which tripled the cost of the popcorn over what we normally paid for a 50-pound sack. So things like that can cause a temporary price increase throughout the supply chain, and the place that it's going to be most noticeable is in that production bottleneck. But the question we all need to be looking at here is, what new normal are the prices going to stabilize at? Because the new normal the price stabilizes at compared to the old normal before COVID is going to tell us just how bad our practical inflation really is. And we won't know where the new normal for lumber, for instance, is going to be for about 1.5 years. We won't know where the new normal for soybeans is going to be for about 9 months. We won't know where the new normal for certain cuts of beef is going to be for about 10 months. And yes, I do agree that there was a lot of fake speculation involved, Rick. They were going for worst case scenario, and their worst case scenario model was ridiculous. I'm a big fan of worst case scenario models. Worst case scenario is great because if you always plan for the worst, then if anything less happens, it's like, score, we won. But the problem with COVID-19 was the worst case model they were planning for was something like freaking Ebola. You know, they were planning for something with a 60% mortality rate like the Spanish flu. And that is not what happened. And yeah, to some extent, Volker, scarcity is not a real thing. Scarcity is created within a marketplace by a wide range of different market pressures. In some cases, it's a case of rapacity on the part of the person who produces it. I'm the only guy that makes this widget, so I will charge all the market can bear. In the case of monopolies, they create artificial scarcity because they want to maintain a specific profit margin. Like, you know, if you only have one cable company in town, they can create their artificial scarcity and they can structure their pricing any way they want because they don't have any competition. And in a lot of these cases, it was our offshoring of our manufacturing that caused this problem. Because there's no reason why we should have only 5 large lumber companies in the United States that are capable of sustaining a national infrastructure supply chain. There's no reason why we should not have 5,000 regional people that can take up the slack. We have the capacity for it. but it is not there. And in many times, it's not there because government overreach and government regulation and taxation have made it not profitable to be there. I mean, if you are a little lumber mill, a really little lumber mill, like you own a portable mill that you bought from Mother Earth News and you're going around doing local lumber cutting jobs, then you can make enough money to support your family. If you're Weyerhaeuser or Georgia Pacific, you can make enough money to support your family, your stockholders, and several 100,000 employees. But if you're a little guy in the middle, you might be just big enough that you come under heavier regulation and heavier taxation burdens, but too small to scale up and get over the hump into the cleaner sailing that the big guys are in. And this is how monopolies come to be. And that is all part of the artificial scarcity. The problem is not the supply. The supply is available. The problem is not the demand. The problem is the middleman and the middle ground where a raw material becomes the product on the shelf at Home Depot or Walmart. So much of that middle ground is no longer in this country. It is in China. It is in Mexico. And this isn't just our lumber industry. This is our food industry. 3/4 of our domestic food supply is controlled by foreign entities. Almost half our domestic food supply comes from outside the United States. And that is the problem, because food security is national security. Food is critical national security, national defense level stuff. It should not be happening out of our control. Because since it is out of our control, those foreign entities that own our 3/4 of our pork supply, they're the Panda Patrol, by the way, they can create scarcity anytime they want. Those entities that are currently selling us half our vegetables down in Mexico can create scarcity anytime they want. Scarcity is created by the manufacturer, which is why we need to get manufacturing going again on a local and regional level. I mean, if I won the lottery tomorrow, I'd set up a regional lumber mill, not with the object of making a big amount of money, but with the object of getting in contact with local Montana owners of timber that need it cut, that don't want to have to pay to ship it 1,000 miles to get it cut. And they want to actually get some decent money for it, because there is a market for regional things. And the more, and we as consumers can put pressure on this market by concentrating on buying local, developing local, buying regional, developing regional, getting a basis to come up so that people can look at it and say, well, hey, it is worth it for me to sell my stuff in my state, because I now have enough customers in my state. I don't have to bundle up my milk and sell it to Shamrock, several states away. I don't have to bundle up my meat and sell it to California. There's enough people here that want it. And that is a big part of what needs to happen to stabilize our economy, because the current pie-in-the-sky plan that the Fed is working on of a sustained 2% inflation rate might possibly work if we weren't printing money to infinity and if our inflation rate was actually 2%. But it isn't, and it's not going to be. And unless we can get to a place where we have a sustainable capillary system of local businesses, little mom and pop businesses that are making enough money to support themselves and 2 or 3 employees to take care of us, these gaps in our national security are going to become problems in our personal security a whole lot faster than they did under COVID. But that's an entirely other story. And as I said, these are the kind of things we should not worry about. We need to worry about buying silver and buying gold and holding them and getting mining going and watching squirrels. Squirrels are very nice, very interesting. Yeah. Highly entertaining. Especially when they're accompanied by flying pigs. Yes, exactly, Ed. It's not them, others, it's also us. We need to concentrate on local. Bear and I are doing really good on that. We've been to Walmart, I think, once in the last month. We're at the point where we're about 80% local now, and I wanted to get 100%. We're working on it. And absolutely, Bob, you should be. Anybody can put a victory garden on their porch. Square foot gardening, vertical gardening, container gardening. You can grow enough veggies for a family of 4 on a 100 square foot patio.
Now, Kevin, the problem isn't Home Depot and Walmart. It's us buying from Home Depot and Walmart.
It's us buying from Home Depot and Walmart.
Supporting corporations.
Yeah, if the corporations don't support your values, they've made it clear they don't want your business, I say that's fine.
Well, I am going to give this back to Bear and Jim. See y'all later, and I will keep an eye out for mining news.
Little one, remind me tomorrow to see about just changing the suspension in those hats. That might be all we need to do.
Yeah, if you could switch the band from that hat to the pink hat, that would be great.
It may very well. The suspensions oftentimes are kind of interchangeable. We'll see. Anyhow, so that's our tinfoil hat for this week, folks. And
Which somehow ends up getting not focused on mining. We're going to have to work on that there.
you ever tried growing tomatoes in Arizona? Yes, I actually have. It takes a lot of water.
Newsflash, tomatoes are perennial in Arizona. Buy indeterminate varieties, protect them from everything in the world, tons of water. But yes, tomatoes are perennial in Arizona, people.
Yeah, Keith. Yeah, I find it interesting on the JFK thing. It makes you wonder who's vulnerable and who wouldn't be vulnerable. Very, very thought-provoking. But anyhow, so I think the more we all think of the consequences of our actions and, things like, where is the money you're spending going to? And are those people you really want to give it to? And see if you can come up with alternatives. I think that's a good thing. I noticed that the NBA viewership is down 50%. Well, I guess NBA doesn't understand that it's not politics.
Right.
Major League Baseball down by 35%. Thank you.
Yeah, that really hurt Eva. Eva was a huge, huge baseball fan. And them going woke broke her heart,
MLB is dead to me.
Well, they turn it political, and what do you think's going to happen?
I say it's a big corporation should not be political.
No.
Unless its job is politics. I mean, if it's a big marketing thing and they do advertising stuff for politicians, okay, fine.
Yep.
But Walmart should be as apolitical as possible. All these other businesses should just say, hey, look, not our business. I can see like a gun store being involved in Second Amendment politics. I can see, Exxon being involved in energy policy.
Yeah.
But that's it. They shouldn't be trying to tell us what our energy policy should be on a personal level. They should just be trying to supply the market needs, and if they think something is where the market needs to go, then they can invest their money figuring out how to make it happen reasonably.
Yep.
You know? And so, yes, there's somebody I know who,
I agree, Ed. It's a failure of vigilance
yeah,
on our part.
there's someone I know that we were discussing things and we agreed that the system has been corrupted and that the corruption occurred because voters haven't done their due diligence, I believe is the phrase I used. And then this other person said, but I, don't want to get involved, so to speak. It's like, well, doing your due diligence includes getting involved.
Well, it's hard to do your due diligence when everybody's lying to you.
Yes, but even then, it's a matter of fact that you need to find out what the truth is to the best of your ability and then act accordingly. And Eva isn't drinking Coke anymore either.
Me either. No more.
Vote with your dollar. I agree completely.
Shasta is still not woke as far as I know, and neither is RC.
No, I refuse. I look at products now to see who is backing them up. I'm not going to support them anymore.
It's just ridiculous. Airlines should not be in politics.
I feel if they want to shut us down, then we just shut them down.
We don't have to deal with it.
Right.
And that's the thing. It's not aggression when you simply say, leave me alone.
No.
And I think it's my belief that, quote unquote, we can live without them easier than they can live without us. And so I say, just everyone do your due diligence, find the truth as best you can, make the best judgment you can as to what is good policy for the country, for the society, and act accordingly in a peaceful manner. That's just so crazy I even have to say that nowadays.
And send emails to let people know when you stop buying their product and why.
Don't be scared to let them know.
And
I'm
yourself.
not doing business with
And
you
if they send you back a coupon, then you rip the coupon in half and send it back to them.
Yeah, and I mean, if you say, if they don't want to be nice to you, you've got no requirement to be nice to them or to patronize them. It's just that simple. There's one place in town that is heavily woke, but it's a small kind of, what would you call, without being too detailed, but it's a niche store, so to speak. And
It's an organic, bougie, grocery emporium.
oh, by the way, somebody wants your crypto picks. But anyhow, I say it's a liberal environment.
Ethereum, Litecoin.
She wants Ethereum and Litecoin.
Oh, Bitcoin's okay too. I have some. But
But anyhow, they make it clear, what they want to go in there, and they have a really good selection of some really eclectic stuff that, I can't, find anywhere else. If we need it, we'll go there. And that's it. And the other thing, and this is hilarious for all you folks out there, we were at Winco the other day, and somebody had left one of those clear plastic face shields in the cart. And so I kept it, And I told Eva, I said, yeah, put this in the cart, and then if any Karen comes up and says, you're not wearing a mask, I can go, do you feel safe now? Because that is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. A clear plastic face shield is supposed to stop viruses.
well, you're supposed to wear a mask under the face shield.
No. That is all you need to wear to meet the rules. Makes sense, doesn't it? Not to me. And as I say, so don't be afraid to express yourself peacefully, but you don't have to be excessively polite if someone's being stupid. You just look at them and go,
What?
really? You really think so?
I agree.
Okay,
Mask COVIDians and COVIDiots are a problem.
Yeah.
yeah. And I've heard that too, Bob. Eva doesn't do sugars at all, really, because of her condition.
I eat keto. That's the way we all should eat.
But in my case, I don't do much sugars anyway. I don't. I'm not a huge sweets person.
Me either.
But what really bugs me about keto is no potatoes and no rice. That just drives me crazy. Franz does make a decent keto bread with 0 carbohydrates. Have you ever tried it?
I don't know. The last few years, I don't eat a lot of bread anymore.
Okay. Well, if you do that, that has no carbohydrates at all. And
Yeah, it's all protein.
yes, Kevin, the lesser of two evils is still evil, but sometimes you still got to make a choice. And if you do, then you pick the lesser of two. But again, best to just avoid it if you can. Yeah, I say the whole thing is completely divorced from rationality.
Yeah, look at Oregon.
And I think it'll be interesting to see in the long run what the actual statistics indicate when they're analyzed rationally and objectively. And that's, I think, going to be a big wake up to a lot of people when it gets to that point. Now, I don't expect that to happen in the next few months here, although we have gotten some interesting research recently. But it's just, one of these situations where we're really, in my opinion, between a rock and a hard place already.
Yeah. Well,
All the easy exits have been closed.
well, and part of it's, like Keith's saying, is, start standing up for yourself and say something. Don't let it, everybody continue to walk over us.
Mm-hmm.
This has got so far from reality that it's crazy.
It is getting pretty bizarre in places. Now, something that Eva forgot to mention on her tinfoil hat report. They are considering, the Biden administration is considering installing Chief Magnus of the Tucson Police Department as the new head of INS or Homeland Security or what?
Border
Border Patrol. Now, Chief Magnus, City of Tucson, we know about him because we come from Tucson. Let's just say if you don't want things to work well, he's an excellent pick. For example, if you got too high a crime rate, don't answer calls for crimes. Don't take down the report. Amazing what that does to the crime rate.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One.
Yeah. And so, say we come from there, and you'll notice we come from there. We don't live there. We did until a short time ago. There's a reason for that. Yeah. And so, anyhow, and Ed, I'd believe the screaming bit, knowing you. My nickname for him is Curmudgeon. But anyhow,
I love it.
yeah, I said we need to stop being meek. That doesn't mean we have to be rude or violent.
No, not at all.
But we can just, I say, sometimes humor is the greatest defense. You just, what? It can just embarrass someone into silence. And we need to stand up for what we believe is right. The other side stands up for what they believe is right. I don't agree with them, but you got to admit their tactics are pretty effective considering their facts are so far divorced from reality.
Well,
You know?
yeah, when you get enough crazy people together and they all latch onto the same delusion, it's
Yeah,
amazing
right,
what
yeah.
they can accomplish.
Confirm each other's idea.
Well, and you've got people, in my opinion, the people who are running the show don't actually believe it.
I don't think they do. It's about power and control.
I don't
And-
believe that you can promote a lie effectively if you believe the lie, because you'll get caught in your logical, traps. You have to know where the traps are in order to avoid them, and that means you have to know where's the trap.
Know the lie.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And so I say it's interesting to me, but I don't think we're going to have long to wait to find out where this is all leading. It doesn't seem to be the goal of the current administration to stretch things out.
Well, they don't plan on fixing anything. That's for damn sure.
I agree both of
While
there.
the iron is hot,
But so that's kind of our situation, and we'll try and do what we can, and for ourselves. And that's another thing you can do is if everyone's part of society is happy, safe, and self-sufficient, then all of society would be happy, safe, and self-sufficient. So take care of yourself and your family. And yeah, I agree, Rick.
and
Reality
build
has
community.
a good way of invoking evolution when necessary. And Robert Heinlein once said, "Stupidity is the only universal capital crime. Judgment is swift and there is no appeal." Yep. And that's it. Reality. Somebody just recently said that I thought was good was you can ignore reality, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring reality.
Exactly.
And I think that that's what we're getting. For example, if you were to live in a jurisdiction where the powers that be said, defund the police, whatever, and you were a police officer, why would you stay a police officer? Leave or just quit? I mean, if it's clear that if you do your job reasonably, but in a politically charged atmosphere, the wrong stuff happens, and you're going to be sacrificed, well, that doesn't sound like a good idea to me. So can you imagine if in a defund the police environment, all the police just left that jurisdiction? I mean, literally. If overnight the police, or the vast majority of them, just quit, I think the rest of the country would have an abject lesson as to why police are in fact necessary. Now, are they perfect? Hell no. They're people. Of course they're not perfect. They make mistakes, and some of them are complete assholes. Okay? That's just the way it is. That's the way people are. You can ask Eva. There's times I'm a jerk. Okay? It's usually involving electronics. Hey, Jim got to see it today when we were setting up.
Oh, just minor little mental breakdowns, right?
Oh, come on, tell the truth. He had a total meltdown and was using really, really bad words. He was a bad kid.
We all have those days. Come on.
But hey, I'm not a cop.
I have
I'm not an
yet to
airline
hear
pilot.
you use a profane word in front of me.
No, I'm sure I have.
No, you haven't. I would have known it. I wouldn't say anything
Especially
because
if
cared
it's
about it.
anything to do with the politics.
But anyhow, that's it. It needs, if there's a problem, it needs to be fixed. If your car isn't running right, you don't walk. You get your car fixed or you get another car. You replace it with something that works better.
I would agree, Walter.
I don't know if it's that small, but it's
No, it's unfortunate we don't teach kids to critically think. You know, that's what scares me. Is
That
what
was
we've
done by
done.
design.
Right, what we've done to the younger generations,
Mhm.
not making them learn how to fail and get back up and gain a little confidence in doing things and not being scared to death. Because all they can sell everybody is fear.
Well, and another thing, there's a couple of other things they've taught the young that are counterproductive. Number one is there's no such thing as objective reality. I would love to get someone like that if I couldn't say, okay, there's no such thing as objective reality. It's all opinion, right? Put your hand on that table. I got a hammer.
Right.
Now hold very firmly in your mind, this is not going to hurt, and we'll see whether or not reality overcomes your opinion. But another thing is, and this is more insidious, but they've taught children that pleasure equals happiness. The way you achieve happiness is by having pleasure. You buy the newest iPhone because you get a new gimmick, it's fun,
Gotta have that.
and this sort of thing. And the problem is pleasure and satisfaction come from accomplishment and
And learning.
learning.
Actually learning.
All-
Learning can be this.
Pleasure
Look at all
comes
learning.
from momentary things.
Well,
Happiness,
I mean, just
happiness and success come from consistent
yeah,
accomplishment.
and you going out in the field and having the metal detector actually find a piece of gold for you is a hell of an accomplishment, and you feel good about it. And it's or you putting a pan in the creek, and that'll mean more to you, and you'll start to learn more because of it. And I don't know, somewhere along the line we've disconnected, teaching younger generations that's true accomplishment. That's true happiness, is making yourself happy and the people around you.
Well, Kevin, I would suggest that if your family have your heads in the sand, if you observe the position that's required, you can pretty much anticipate what's going to happen to them. That will probably get their hands out of the sand. Unfortunately, it's an unpleasant way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
The other problem with finding happiness through pleasure is a sensation that stops as soon as the pleasurable stimulus stops. And one of my problems is I like to eat food because I like the pleasurable sensation of the taste in my mouth, which tends to lead me to overeat.
He's a border snacker. It's ridiculous.
Yes, exactly. And that way, it causes me to do counterproductive things. Now, in my opinion, it's not that counterproductive at this stage, but I will agree it is a lack of discipline on my part. I don't know, did you notice what I did a little short time ago, Eva? I think you were looking at the TV screen, but I did something just to see how observant you were.
You mean when you brought over that pile of peanuts and were sitting there carving them down?
No. When I brought over the chocolate peanut cluster and started eating it, I was expecting you to see that and say something that would make everyone laugh, but you were too busy talking and didn't see it. But you guys would have enjoyed it.
Hey, Bryce,
He
good
is
to
not
see you here.
supposed to be eating that disgusting shit. And he knows it. He is a bad bear.
Yeah.
He went to Winco and he bought chocolate peanut clusters and then he brings them in and he carefully, casually, kind of
Sneaks them.
gently puts them down on the counter, partially hidden behind a bunch of other crap,
He was
where he
hungry.
does not think I'm going to see them.
No, if I was trying to hide them from you, they'd be somewhere where you wouldn't see them.
Oh no, if I ever find you hiding food, you are going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
That is not allowed.
But anyhow, so I say we all agree on the situation. I think we're pretty consistent on that. So to deal with it, one thing we're doing is doing our own thing.
And build community.
Yeah,
Find
build
like
community.
minds
Yeah.
around you and
Well,
build
that's
community.
really what this is building a community
Yeah.
of people that are interested in the subject. And,
Yeah.
you want to be a person who looks out for others around you and help people. But, you draw a line too. If they're not willing to help themselves, well, they're on their own.
And that's,
I agree,
that's
Kevin.
something. Well, yeah, that too, but I also think this COVID has been a blessing in terms of the teachers aren't going to teach. Okay, then I guess we'll just have to homeschool them. Wait a minute. I think it was Tucson.
You realize who's relevant and who isn't if you really want to push the point.
Tucson Unified School District just let 60 teachers go due to lack of demand
Oh,
because all the students. Yeah. No, Volta Bear, I didn't marry a gold digger. She married a gold digger. She's the gold digger supervisor.
good analogy.
But anyhow, so I say that's what we're trying to do in our lives is to make things as stable and safe and everything. Hey, you and I moved 1,200 miles to improve our lives. I think I've said it before. The Jews have a saying: in 1930s Germany, the pessimists went into exile, the optimists went into the gas chambers. If it looks like things are going to hit the fan, hit the road before, because once it hits the fan, you aren't going to be able to hit the road.
Yeah, you vote with your feet.
Yeah.
You need community, and you're right. I mean, it's hard to survive by yourself. And
Not much fun either.
to have people that you can go to for an answer or help is a big thing.
Yeah.
And that creates the true friendships and reliable friends. And that's important. That's more important than the damn money.
And when you have a group that can work together, then one person's weakness can be supplemented by someone else's strength and things like that, which makes the sum greater, the whole greater than the sum of the parts. And when things are tough, it's easier to get through both physically and psychologically when you have some kind of support structure. Then you provide that support structure when someone else needs it, and blah blah blah. It works out better. So that's a good thing. But which Jews? The Jews that were in Germany in the 30s. There weren't too many in the 40s, and that's I would say more bacon than butter, Terry. But yeah, it's basically just an analogy. Mine is don't die over stuff, but you have to evaluate the situation, and sometimes effective action seems rather dramatic, and it can be rather dramatic. And you have to just say, is it worth it? Now, Eva and I, we don't have any young kids. We don't have a lot of anchors. We can do stuff a lot easier than a lot of people can. But if you have children, you have even more motivation to seek a safe place than we do. I mean, we can fight our way out potentially. But if you've got 3 kids, it's going to be a lot harder. So that's, everyone has to evaluate that by themselves, for themselves, and for their family. But yeah, don't fall into the fallacy of what they call normalcy bias. Well, it always works out this way, so it's always going to work out that way. No, that's not the way it works. It works out that way until it doesn't. Then bad things happen.
Yeah, you may have noticed that the new normal we're operating in these days is not exactly normal.
No, not preparing is not a plan.
Yeah, somebody brought up, I think it was the Ontario government, not too long ago. Yeah, I mean, they basically said martial law, and the cops said, well, who are you going to have enforce this? We're not going to. It's ridiculous. So when people behave in a manner that makes no sense according to their stated objectives, my immediate interpretation is either they're crazy or their stated objectives aren't their real objectives. You know?
At least not for them.
Yep. So, anyhow, have we got any more mining questions? Anyhow?
It was a mining show once.
One time. Again, I'm going to be doing field work with Viva, so we should have some nice videos there. Going to be building an impact mill here next week, it looks like, so we'll have videos up on that. Yep. See how well it works. Got plenty of stuff to test it on.
Yeah.
And
Oh, wow. Oral wheat apparently is now making the keto bread.
okay.
It's not 0 carb, but 3 grams. But if it's got resistant tapioca starch, I don't find out what it's got in it.
So, and then we should be getting up in your place in a couple of weeks too.
Yeah, I get up and start working on equipment and figuring things out.
So they might be able to get some stuff there
And
too.
get some stuff ready to mobilize.
And again, if anyone has any questions,
We went to Mondays
we're-
last week, and we're gonna stick with Mondays, I guess.
yeah, there's some reasons that Mondays will work out better. Not the least of which is a bunch of other people are doing their live streams on Sundays. So by doing it in a much less popular time slot, it makes it a lot easier. But
But we're not getting buffering tonight.
no,
No, so far so good. The
Yeah.
system's working out.
that's it. All except for the microphone.
More to figure
Microphone
out.
didn't work.
But, yeah, throw out them mining questions though, and if we can, come up with other subjects that you guys want to, a little more info on.
And I say we'll go from there. Two things on the live streams is say what we've been doing and why, and answer questions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we just try to incorporate in what we're doing, what things Keith does, things I do. And, if we can help you learn or help you find some success, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
It's, it's educational, I guess. Hopefully it's educational.
that's what we strive to do. And I have fun just doing stuff, and then I make videos to show you what I was doing and why I was doing it. Then you can judge for yourself whether I got my head up my ass or not. But that's my basic plan.
Usually there's a reason you're doing something, whether it's right or wrong. Gives you a reason.
Yeah. Like I was watching a video last night on Mentor Pilot to find out the gigantic crash that almost happened a couple of years ago. There were reasons for it, but doesn't mean they were good reasons. What does it take to reopen a mine that has been reclaimed by BLM? Unless it is withdrawn land, just claim it, and it's now you own the mineral rights.
Yep.
Then to actually operate it, you may have to get permits and stuff. But to get the mineral rights, if it's BLM land and it is not withdrawn,
Yep.
it just went back to public domain.
You'll have a notice of intent you'll have to do, or what you're, what you're planning to do, and then basically your permitting, which would be a plan of operations right now. And you'll have to go through, I don't know, a number of Sundays back, we kind of went into that a little bit with plan of operations and what it takes to do that. If you have questions, you can, BLM will tell you what they want to see when you do that. And then local watershed, or like here, we have the Department of Environmental in Montana. That's actually who you get your permit through. They have kind of a form of what they want, answers, questions to answer. Otherwise, we can give you some answers too on questions.
Okay, Ragnar, You said they reclaimed 2 of your claims. Now, under what legal justification did they do that? Was there some kind of failure to file all the appropriate forms or pay the appropriate fees
There's probably no notice of intent.
or something that, unless it suddenly, even if it suddenly became a study area, I don't think they can invalidate the claims.
Not if it's a valid claim.
Yeah.
They can buy it back from you.
They will find a, they'll find
Well,
a way.
they can find a way to get rid of you, but
That's why you have to make sure they're protected.
they know that could be a court case, so they'll do whatever they can to go around that.
Yeah.
But
They find out what it was.
if you didn't have a notice of intent, even though you've paid and you own the mineral rights, you kind of raise a red flag to them that there's addicts out there in on the mountain or the desert or whatever, and they'll go out there and reclaim them because they have reclamation money. And if you have a notice of intent, literally in that notice of intent, which you don't need their authority for a notice of intent. You're just telling them, I'm going to be out there working on my claim or doing this or that, and leave my claim alone.
Let's say, find out, get in writing why they reclaimed them. It may be something that you can say, no, that's illegitimate, prove it. Otherwise, just stake another claim. They may get really tired of fighting you. You just stake a brand new one. No, same post. What the hell? If someone has long wave black light instead of short wave, how effective is it going to be? Depends on the mineral.
Right.
Some minerals work just fine with long wave. Some do not. Scheelite, for example, doesn't respond very well to long wave, but it
There
does
may
to short
be
wave.
tables online somewhere that show you the wavelengths you need for specific minerals. I would go doing some research on those.
And
Hmm.
Scotty's question there, or comment, UV blocking glasses are a good, clear blocking glasses are a good idea. Also, a filtered UV light will help a lot without having that coming back at your eyes.
And Ragnar, you were working them at a casual use level
Mm-hmm.
and actually talked to them face to face. What did they say? I mean, they can't just invalidate your claim for no reason. They have to have a reason. And what did they say? Did you say misfiling? What the deal was?
Well, if there's no notice of intent on the claims right now, they could do reclamation. And unfortunately, that's a thing that has happened to a lot of people. We even had it happen on some claims that we posted the claims and took the mineral rights and end up going back there at some point because we didn't do a notice of intent on them. They went back and welded the adit shut. And I was not happy at all.
Yeah, but Ragnar says they took his claims.
That
See, that's the thing that gets me is they took. Now I can see where you say they might close it or something, but to actually invalidate your claims essentially and take them, they have to have a legal reason for that. Legally. Now that doesn't mean they're not just going to do it
The last
and then
time
force
they took
you to get a
yours.
lawyer.
Like
know.
the last time they took yours. They
Harry,
were after the
on
court.
rubies, I'm not sure. You can look up UV fluorescent minerals. Just Google that, and there's quite a few different sites that you can go on to.
Bear is doing the Google thing, people.
And even like I was saying here, gold doesn't fluoresce, but the indicator minerals around it, and you could possibly do the same things on rubies. I know that the other corundum, when you get into sapphires and stuff, they do fluoresce. So it's possible rubies do. I don't know.
Says fluorescent corundum. Corundum
Yeah.
is ruby.
Right.
Says it does.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay. It says it does. I know the other corundum does. With sapphires and that, and so it would make sense that rubies would fluoresce. What color, I don't know, but I guess that would depend on what mineral is there for the color. Nice dark red ruby or a
Looks-
lighter ruby.
Looks pink to me. Just a second here and we'll find out. Gandhi Enterprises. Subscribe. Natural rubies and shortwave ultraviolet red.
Hot pink.
Hot pink.
Yep, hot pink color. Yep,
Some of them pinker than others.
yep. Pink to dark red.
That just made it too dark and maybe it's not be fluorescent too well. Yeah, they seem to be glowing pretty good. Good
Okay,
pink there.
well, there's an answer to that.
Eva doesn't care as long as she's got sapphire.
No, I want amethyst and garnet and
Kevin
sapphire.
left us there, so thanks, Kevin, for being here, though.
Okay. Yep. Anyhow,
Well, that's cool.
so for the locked covert openings to mine, how does one get access to prospect them? You're pretty much going to be out of luck to get the key on public land to get in. If you were to claim it legitimately,
They have to
and
give
then
you the
it's
key.
on your claim, then they have to give you the key.
You could possibly give them a notice of intent on it to get the key. They're going to limit your time with the key, maybe like a Saturday, or they're going to let you have the key for a day or two, and that's it. They're supposed to give you a key. If you ask for it, they are supposed to give it to you. But
We had a guy down in southern Arizona that they did a similar thing to, and he was able to eventually, through threatening legal action, get an actual key.
well, here I've gotten keys even to some of the gates on these roads.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to go, talk to them and work it out why you're going in where you're going.
And Ragnar, they do that. They come in, they plug stuff, they gate stuff, etc. As long as they don't bury it, you're in a much better condition. But you'll need to go to the BLM. I would suggest, if they're not cooperative right off the bat, to go someplace like Public Lands for the People or American Mining Rights Association. Talk to them, and you can probably get one of their lawyers to write a real nasty
You
letter
just make a phone call.
that'll get some
Yeah.
quick action, because the problem is a lot of bureaucracies work through, I'm just going to be obstructionist and you're going to have to make me move. And most people don't know how to do that. But people who do it for a living know how to make them move, and they know how to make them wish they had moved before it got serious.
Right.
And so by getting someone like that to make the contact for you, and then basically say, hey, Fred, we've been through this before. You want to go the whole 9 yards, or you want to just, cave in right now?
No, Ragnar, that's what they did to us. Is they welded them shut and left an opening that it was so small that even if you did unlock it and open it, you couldn't slide through it. And it's like, this is really sweet. Oh yeah, they're doing it. Argonaut, they're doing it here too.
Yes.
Just
It's
blocking and gating constantly. That's the only budget for management I guess they have is screw up the roads.
and that is a plan that's being executed. I agree. Now, again, there have been certain jurisdictions where people have gotten together and filed lawsuits and stuff like that to get stuff open. In some places, they basically just showed up with bulldozer and guns and said, we've got the right. You want to disagree? I would expect, unfortunately, to see more of that in the not too distant future, because the regulators are not acting as servants of the people, but they expect the people to be servants for them. And that's not the way the law is written. That's not the way the dynamic is supposed to work. And so you have a situation where people are having to assert their rights. And that can get, unfortunately, pretty intense at times. And that's what we would like to avoid.
Argonaut, the date on those road closures was 1976. Any roads prior to 1970 or before 1976, were not supposed to be gated and closed, which is mostly old mining roads and trails to mines. And when they went in logging, especially in this area in the the late 70s, early 80s, they gated all of those roads shut.
Mhm.
And it was a direct violation of the rules from 1976. And they didn't care.
And what happened?
Well, people here fought it for a while and then they just kind of gave up on it.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a meeting 10 years ago over here in Elliston that they were meeting on closing some roads up above up in there. And there was not one person that wanted to see a gate put on a road in that whole area because the locals hunt it and everything else. And they literally already had their agenda because they left that meeting and went ahead and gated all the roads anyway.
I've seen similar
And,
situations.
there was not a single rancher who runs cattle in the area, anybody cutting firewood or anything else. Everybody was completely against it, 100% against it, and they did it anyway.
Yeah.
So their public meeting was a freaking joke.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. They already had their agenda for their, what do they call it? Their travel management plan.
That sounds good. I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, really good wording there.
Very, very PR. I was once in a public meeting. Kid you not? The Mayor Tempore of Tucson said this: "You will all shut up or I will have you removed." Now, that's not exactly what I call a public meeting.
No,
Yeah.
wasn't listening to the people who put him there, evidently.
I'm wondering if the local sheriffs will get to the point where they will actually say, "Tear down the gate, I don't care."
Well, I went actually in the one county over there, we had some issues. Because I was accessing a trail that supposedly that didn't fit their travel management plan. And they threatened me with a $5,000 fine for running my four-wheeler up to a mine that we had claimed. And I said, I have a right to go to my mine. And if that means I build a road, I'm going to build a road to it. And of course, that got in a conversation. But I went to the sheriff, and the sheriff's like, well, I said, I want you to stop them from doing this in this county. And he said, I got to talk to the county attorney. The county attorney, of course, is like, well, I don't want to start anything with the federal government, and we don't have the budget for it. So in other words, we're not going to do nothing about it. And I asked the sheriff, just call them and tell them in our county, you do not close a road until you talk to the sheriff's department. Because the sheriff's department oversees all of those roads and management, even though it's within the Forest Service. And he just didn't, without the county attorney, behind him, he didn't want to make that step, unfortunately, because he had the power to do it. The sheriff in a county is the ultimate power, if you want to know who's got power.
Well,
He's elected by the people, for the people, and he will honor what the people want.
I suspect, unfortunately, this is an unfortunate situation, but I suspect in the not too distant future, you're going to wind up with civil disobedience and uncivil disobedience.
Yeah.
In the not too near future, because people are getting really fed up, and there are certain observable phenomenon where certain people can commit certain acts with impunity. And that really gets people's goats. When you're a law-abiding citizen and you see someone blatantly breaking the law and then just nothing happens, it really doesn't help to get people to support the law. And I don't see this dynamic continuing. And somebody said, well, Argonaut, they can outlast us. I disagree. If we don't maintain discipline, yes, they can. But unfortunately, we support them. They do not support us.
No,
It's like a parasite.
Our form of government is from here toward them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, under our Constitution, It was written to control government, not us.
Correct.
And that's what people fail to realize. Of course, they don't educate you about that. By God, they can't teach that in school. But our form of government is the people are free. It's the government that's limited.
It's restrained by the law.
Right. And it's restrained by, when we want things to happen, it means things need to happen.
Well, and this is to say one of those situations where it's being forced by one side pretty hard and pretty fast.
Well,
The
it's going to
frog-
get faster. They're going to speed this up. You watch.
Yeah. The boiling frog analogy is not being used in this one.
Yeah.
They're like, no, you hit them so hard they
boil. Yeah.
respond. Once you get them off balance, you just keep hitting them until they finally go down for good. And that is not necessarily a false tactic, but it will only work if we do not resist it with sufficient vigor. And that's where, yes, I agree, Pat.
Yep.
Perhaps, I'm not sure, Oregon, but
That was his plan, actually.
he was getting along. He was doing pretty good.
Oh, yeah, he was doing it. If we'd have got him in one more term, boy, I tell you what, I think a lot of things would have ended.
We were making a lot of progress. And I think it's a shame, but, it's reality right now.
We have to deal with what's in front of us, but that doesn't mean you can stand up. Stand up for your rights as a miner. Demand your rights as a miner. Read the mining law. Get a copy of the 1872 mining law. It was updated again in 1874 with a little bit, some different verbiage. And then in the Forest Service rules, and most of that didn't come along till the Clean Water Act in 1970s. And some of that doesn't pertain to mining, actually, but they want you to believe it does. It is educate yourself and stand up for yourself. In the same respect, you're standing up for me and the rest of us too, and we're standing up for you. We have rights, we have things that are supposed to go our way, and we can't let them win. See you, David. Thanks for being here again tonight. Conditional after. Yeah, well, I don't know. They're going to keep poking us to the point that they're going to get a reaction and they're not going to like it.
I think that the idea is they'll get a reaction. They'll use that to justify
Another step.
extreme actions.
Well, I think that's what they want. And what hasn't been happening is we haven't done it, or it hasn't happened. And so they're going to keep poking the bear.
Mm-hmm.
But at a certain point, it's not going to work.
Well, the idea is this escalation thing, tit for tat.
Yep.
And if at some point we go tit and get smashed, it changes the whole dynamic.
We created some confrontation here and got rid of one ranger here in this district because of the confrontation. And, they don't like confrontation, to be honest with you. They'll tell you how tough they are until all of a sudden, a group of miners shows up and they're not happy. Suddenly their little plan they had isn't working out so well.
Yeah.
Explain the BLM even having cops to me. I don't know that was even ever authorized by Congress.
Yeah.
Yeah, Forest Service having guys in black, you look like they came from Afghanistan, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Black suits and AR-15s.
Well, I say, this is the sort of thing where
That's a scary thought.
It is a really scary thought, and I want to know who authorized it. I asked the sheriff in this county how they even got authorization to drive around in this county, being their law enforcement. They have to ask the sheriff if they can even be here.
no, I understand, Bob, and I agree, but I don't think we have much choice at this point. Unfortunately, again, it's up to them. If they want to abide by the law and allow free elections, then we can discuss the issue. If they want to break the law, then it's kind of hard to discuss things. We're probably getting into the situation where we need to change the subject. But
we probably should, or we won't be here anymore either.
Pair different safety glasses. One's held over fluorescent safety vest, bluing, barrier your teeth, outdoor light, indoors or with UV. Yeah, you could do that. That would be interesting. But we'll take that out with us next time. We'll see what it looks like at night.
Yeah, and some mines, like I say, you go in
at night.
Well, not in the summer. Of course, you got to wait till midnight for it to get dark.
Yeah. No.
There is contract law, and really, they have to abide by the laws that are on paper, not their regulations. There's laws. They'll try to choke you with their regulation, but most of that regulation, if you actually read it, pertains to what they can do or can't do, not what you and I can do. But they'll try to, tell you, well, you're under this rule as a visitor to the forest. As a mine claim owner, you're not a visitor to the forest. You're part of the system. If you've got mineral rights in there or grazing rights or water rights, you're not a visitor. You have a right to be there, and you have a right to access what you're doing there. Somewhere they got off on their little tangent there of thinking they own everything, and they don't. We do.
Yeah. Anyhow, what else we got? Anything? That's it. Well, we got an impact mill to build next week.
Yep.
We got a roof to cover. And then the week after, I'll be out in the field again for a couple of days.
Well, and I'll tell you guys, if you can afford to or that, get involved with people for public lands. Get involved with the local mining groups if you're not already. Yeah. Get involved so you know what's being thrown at us, and be able to speak your piece.
Well, also there's strength in numbers.
There's a lot of strength in numbers, and we're all out there, and want the opportunity to do this for our kids or our grandkids or whatever in the future, and we need to hang on to that.
Yeah. But so we'll get that, and then the next couple of weeks, things are going to pick up on the mining front as the stupid snow melts.
Yeah, well, we're coming to our season where we can finally, get out and start hunting and playing and, get around a little bit. So,
hey, I'm doing good on the fishing. You know how many I caught the other day? 11.
Wow.
Yeah, and only 2 were little ones.
Good.
The rest, the biggest one was like 15 inches.
Good.
Yeah, I'm getting pretty good at this stuff.
Let's keep doing it.
Oh, here's a question for you. Do you know why dogs are restricted in Spring Meadow Lake Park during kind of like summertime sort of thing?
I reached the grass is clean, but then there's a million geese down there, so I don't know what that.
I think maybe it's the geese.
It might be to keep the geese and ducks in there. That could be.
Or to allow them to procreate.
And that could be.
Chasing the little
because there's a lot of geese down there all the time.
Yeah, because my daughter's coming up here before Memorial Day, just before that. Yeah. That's the only place I know where I can catch fish right now. She's going to have a couple of little dogs with her.
Well, if you go down to the stoplight by past me,
yeah,
and go out toward the fort, there's a big park out right there on the right, just about a half a mile out.
Yeah.
And you can hike. There's trails down along 10 Mile Creek in there.
Yeah.
That actually they connect to Spring Meadow, but you can have dogs out there.
Yeah. I know how to catch fish at Spring Meadow.
Yeah, well, at least to get out with the dogs.
Nice,
Thanks for being here, Bob.
Yeah.
Keep those questions coming now.
But anyhow, so yeah, try and think of some questions for next week or whatever. and we'll address them then. In the meantime, we'll keep on keeping on and let you guys know what we find out as we find it out.
Yeah. No, this is good that, when the questions are here, it really helps
It does.
drive the whole program.
It does help.
And, if there's something we can help you guys with, fire those questions at us.
I can't do it all myself, Captain. I'm losing control.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Stephen.
Yep. Thanks for being here, Stephen. Argonaut, you bet.
Good night, everybody.
Hope you all find success this summer here soon. So.
Yeah, we're working on it. Today I hadn't seen a comment from Gruber Ned Jardine for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, she's okay and everything. So I looked around. He's got a channel.
Yeah.
And so I looked. His son is a beast. He's a strong dude, man. Yeah. It's like, dude, we need him.
Here, carry this stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, Ragnar.
Yeah. And thanks for showing up, everyone. Yeah, bring your questions, and I'll try and post videos like Saturday or Sunday, so we got stuff to talk about, and go from there. But yeah, the questions really help out. So, has anyone else got anything here, or is it time to pull the plug?
Few people here yet, so
Yeah, we got 22.
that's pretty good.
Okay, Keith.
Yeah.
The Book of Board Drawings.
I thought about it, just a
I
good
don't
classroom
know.
book, because there's
Okay,
not,
Chris.
there's not a really good commercial level classroom book in existence.
Good night, Resort Dog.
Good night, Chris.
Alrighty then. I think I'm
You
gonna
bet.
pull the plug on this. Chris says good night, Eva. Don't mangle Keith too bad for that earlier comment. Hey, I can defend myself when I'm conscious.
All right.
Yeah, when you're conscious, there's the operative
There
word.
wasn't anything flying
No,
through
that's
the
a
air.
phrase,
Yeah.
not a word. Alrighty. Y'all take care.
Thank you.
Is it ending? It should be showing me something there. Oh my god. YouTube is so screwed up. It's hit end stream and it's supposed to end the stream. Oh lordy. Oh look, I've got a test. My goodness. Now it won't end the freaking stream. Holy
I don't know
crap.
what to tell you, Beth.
YouTube sucks. Okay. Let's try this first. That didn't bring it back up, so I'm just going to say,